4, 5, me tacar no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me tacar no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5.
Beep, 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 beep.
Hola, everybody. Here we go. Thank you for joining us again this morning live with the Indignant Desert Birds. Remember, we are invoking the wonderful poem by William Butler Yeats, who talks about the end of time and how society will start to collapse unless there's some hope. And there's indignant desert birds who kind of look out upon the expanse. That's us. Thank you for joining us while we look out with you.
I know, right? So we got David Glenn was here. Thank you so much, Sir Glenn, for hanging out with us today.
And everyone else who joins us, but especially our royalty, such as Sir Glenn. And hopefully we'll see other nobility. All of you who are listening can become part of the Indignant Desert Birds nobility. Everyone who joins us on a regular basis becomes a member of the royal clan. We have King Fletcher and Queen Ursula with you here. We have Sir Glenn. We also have appearances by Lady Jen. We'll see if she joins us today. We also have, was it Viceroy? Who was our Viceroy that we knighted last time, Fletcher?
Oh, that was Viceroy Kirby, I believe.
That's right, Viceroy Kirby. And you'll see other ones from the landed gentry come through here. But all you have to do to be member of the nobility is join us at least once and make a comment. And of course, like and subscribe.
There you go. Now we're branding.
It's not branding, Fletcher. We're expanding. Hopefully, in a good way, the kind that's good online as opposed to with your waistline. You don't want to do that. Don't want to expand that way.
So we're gonna start off. I guess we
gotta go there.
Yeah, we gotta go there, and first and foremost, what we gotta do is we gotta send prayers to those, because there's people who have lost their lives already. There's people who lost, their whole homes, and their homes are not, I guess in California there was a thing that they,
So we're talking about the fires. You want to say what we're talking about?
Yes. So this is the California wildfires that are happening around the LA outer LA area, and more they're just picking up, and basically the unmitigated disaster that it was. I mean, we don't want to make light of it, but somebody said just recently, it may surprise you to learn that a state that took 38 days to count votes in the presidential election isn't prepared for wildfires. I mean, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. The infrastructure in California seems to be awry.
It does seem to be awry. And what's interesting is now that we have President Trump elect, it's coming out that he's been saying this for a long time, that he's obviously not a fan of Governor, whom he calls Newscum, not Newsom, but Newscum. That's what he says. He said it publicly more than one time. I'm not the one saying this, but he said to him many times that you need to prioritize some kind of fire management, and that your fire management systems over there are not good. You are highlighting environmental issues at the expense of safety for your people. Apparently there's some funny fish that he wanted to save. Meaning Governor Newsom. The smelt fish, smelt tastes really good, but they're not an endangered species. In fact, they're an invasive species. So it's really...
I think that one, that was like a breed of that or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, still, smelt's not that important when you consider. It's not like the devil's pupper fish. Is that what it's called? No, they're not. No, in Devil's Hole in Nevada. Yeah, in Nevada, there's a fish that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. If you ever get a chance to go to Nevada, do go to something called the Ash Springs or Ash Meadow Springs. It's out in the desert away from the city where most people go. It's not that far though, maybe an hour, hour and a half at most. And there is a fish that lives like 500 feet under the ground in a little hole they call Devil's Hole because it goes so far down. No one really knows how far down this little hole of water goes. 500 feet is as far as the divers got before they felt that was too far to continue. And there's a fish called the pupper or pupfish, and they actually are part of a lawsuit because the ranchers using the irrigation methods were endangering their habitat, and environmentalists brought a lawsuit and won to save the pufferfish. But that's a little small factoid little area. This is something bigger. These wildfires, they have them in California from time to time. It's such a big issue. And to not take action because of some smelt or whatever fish, whether it's invasive or not, seems rather irresponsible. And that's why Trump was really excoriating the governor about it. And I think that's come back, Fletcher. I think those old stories from, I think as early as 2019, where President Trump, was saying something about it, have come back.
Yeah, I mean, it just this is partly where the Fox News was kind of covering the fire in the different areas that have been affected. But they did take note that President-elect Trump, during the first administration, put Governor Gavin Newsom on notice for his handling of the repeated wildfires in the state, years ahead of the devastating Los Angeles wildfire raging. The governor of California has done a terrible job of quoting Trump here. Has done a terrible job of forest management. Told him from the first day we met that he must clean his forest floors regardless of what his bosses, the environmentalists, demand of him. Must also do burns and cut fire stoppers. The former upcoming president posted on X in 2019. Every year, as the fire rage in California burns, is the same thing. And then he comes to the federal government for money. No more. Get your act together, Governor. You will not close this level of burn into the states. The threat continued. So,
well, this is one of those times again where we do see people don't like Trump. I understand that. A lot of people do not. But you have to see, this is where he does have a very clear vision. This is a person who really does know how to manage. And managing businesses does translate into better management of government. He could see that this is an ongoing problem and you have to take care of it. And I think that he's not wrong here. You might have your issues with Trump. Some people that we have in our family who do. Look here, he's right, okay? And he's right that the bosses, as he puts it, of Gavin Newsom, who tell him to put environmental concerns over their people's safety, need to be sat down, right? There's no reason, as he says here, or what you're showing us here, Fletcher, there's no reason for these massive, deadly, and costly forest fires in California, except that forest management is so poor. Billions of dollars are given each year with so many lives lost, all because of gross mismanagement of the forests. Remedy now or no more Fed payments. This is what Trump said in 2018 on X. So much better of a response than the governor who, goes around in his, oil slick hair and tight jeans, photo opping and looking out for environmental interests, which are important. We're not saying they're not important, but you have to do some kind of triage in a situation. And it seems like they don't have the money to satisfy everybody. You've got to consider your people.
Well, I mean, look at what's happening now. So what's happening now is like whatever thing was endangered, now it's even more in danger because there's fires breaking out. You couldn't even manage that. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. He did, talk about it here. So let's hear what he has to say.
We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools, families completely torn asunder, churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us. Base or in the public.
You got to be kidding me. This guy's had the nerve to be moralizing and talking about people losing lives and children losing their schools and people losing their churches and their homes when you could have managed this disaster before it happened. And then calling it politicizing. It is political. You're a political leader.
What?
What are you talking about? What in the world are we talking about when a politician is talking about how someone shouldn't be politicizing something? You literally are a political leader. You're elected to handle this matter.
No, it's just insane.
No, I mean what Trump was saying all along was that, and I see Sir Glenn has a comment here I would like to take note of. One, he likes Trump a lot more now that Barron is managing his career, which is quite cute. I do think Barron, Trump's youngest child, is managing his career because he's already 18. He's starting college, I believe, in the fall, and has apparently given his dad some advice about doing social media, which really helped him during the campaign against Harris. So that's true. But what I was really getting at here with Sir Glenn's waiting for these same types of fires to happen where I live. Minnesota DNR has completely mismanaged the forest around here. All it will take is a dry north wind. That's exactly right. And that's what's happening in LA. They have dry wind. It's that kind of environment. And what President Trump-elect was saying back since, as we see now, as early as 2018, was you've got to do managed burns. So burn the underbrush and those parts of the forest trees, burn the trees. You have to manage it to kind of have control over it, because when you do that, they don't catch fire on their own, and then you can end it. Once you have the charred and ash, they don't catch fire again. But apparently the environmentalists don't like that. Is that your understanding too, Fletcher?
It is, but I think the other part of it is the wind. I mean, if you look at this, this was part of the gust of wind that was happening during the fire, just so you can see the gust of driving the force in. That's just insane.
Yeah, but it still would be managed by not having the fire start in the first place. So President Trump's solution, which was not just his solution, is what a lot of people who do fire management would advise, is that you do a controlled burn. Okay, so you go ahead and burn part of the forest so it doesn't catch fire on its own, or having someone set it and then goes crazy. You can do a managed burn. Is that your understanding, Fletcher?
Yeah, I believe that this whole this management of the forest it's just insane. But just to put it into perspective, in 2014, California voters backed the 7.5 billion water bond, right? This was in 2014 to mitigate some of these things, and as of today, supposedly nothing has been built.
So how would this have helped the situations?
Well, this is the water projects to get water, basically, because they have a lot of water. My understanding is from the mountains and all this kind of stuff.
So no, I think that what we need to start with, Fletcher, is what happened is apparently there's no water to manage the fire now. So what has been reported is that there is no water in the fire hydrants, and that they ran out. And that actually President Trump-elect has also talked about this in the past, that you have to get the water flowing. He had managed, I think that's what you're talking about. I'll let you go back to it. But what he criticized Newsom for today, which Newsom said, I don't want to get into politics, is that President Trump-elect soon to be President Trump in just basically a few days, said that there should be a way to, and I believe it's what you're calling here, Prop 1, is to have water flow into California from other states, from wastewater, from excess waters, other places, snow melts, and so forth. But I think, again, this would have had an environmental impact that was unacceptable to Newsom's administration, i.e. his environmentalist lobbies. And he refused it. And now they don't have enough water to fight this thing. They're literally having trouble with water. And then Newsom, in responding to this critique, said today, I don't know what he's talking about. There was never any proposition. And then you have it for us, Fletcher. So go for it.
Yeah. No, it's insane because nothing has been built yet. There's no there's nothing that that they can, say, okay, this is the steps that we took to actually control this this fire, to control this area. So it's it's kind of funny that he can go on there and just basically smear, saying like, oh, I'm really for this kind of stuff, that to I'm on it. It almost feels like he's on it, right? And it's, come on, man. And then the famous words of Joe Biden, come on, man. It's not really we're not really buying it. If you're not ready to do something about it, you haven't done anything about it, and now all of a sudden when there's a disaster, you're gonna do something about it.
So I like what Sir Glenn says here. Thank you so much for backing me up, Sir Glenn. Exactly. Managed burns promote new growth and a healthier forest. That's what I've heard also in the past.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying that. That's what I was trying to say earlier. People have been proposing this. President Trump elect also proposed it when he was President Trump, and saying to Newsom, you should manage the burns. You should actually set the forest on fire, because it does promote new growth and a healthier forest, but it also avoids having a situation where when it catches on fire on its own, there's no way to contain it. But if you do the burn yourself, so-called managed burns, you can get it before it goes out of control. And but the problem is, a lot of people who are so-called for the climate, I hope we don't get dinged for this, because we said the words too many times. Those who believe that weather is going to be our doom's end don't like things like managed burns, because they feel like, oh, you're killing the trees, oh, you're doing this, but they don't have a really good sense that a lot of liberals have a lot of wonderful visionary ideas that don't pan out in practice, and they don't accept reality. The fact is, life is a cycle of being alive and being gone. So we have a stewardship role, thinking about ourselves as Christian people, to take care of the land, but that includes things like sometimes destroying to have it be built up better again. And so that's something that is literally missing. Looking at some other our comments here, Fletcher, Sir Glenn mentions California needs to adopt a Singapore model of water management. I'd like to think about that. They have the world's best catchment water system. That sounds amazing. I know Singapore. You know what, Fletcher, we'll have to look at that. Maybe we'll do a follow-up on that next week when we talk to you all. I would love to do that. I know I've met a person or two from Singapore, and from what I understand, from obviously all of what I learned is from the fabulous movie Crazy Rich Asians, which takes place in Singapore. But also just having met people, they seem like an extremely well-organized society, very put together. So I'm not surprised that they would have an excellent water system. And then we have, thank you so much, welcome to the channel, Vinzinger, aka Elataku, aka the Weed Pillar.
What's up, Viz?
We're gonna call him our Sergeant Vinzinger. That's a noble position also, by the way, over here in Indignant Desert Birds, who says California needs to go using water from the mountains where it snows, then put in the water. Oh no, I hate these eco hippies. Yes, that's exactly right. I agree with that 100%. I think that's the problem. They don't want to use any method that, even begins to impinge upon their precious ideals about, the weather, about weather issues. We don't want to say the CLIMATE word too much. I think I've said it too many times. Hopefully we won't get, dinged. Our host does not like us talking about that. They're going to put a blue pill thing on us. But the blue pilled flag that tells you, don't go off to your own, Neo. Don't take the red pill, take the blue one. But anyway, yeah, exactly. He was 100% right. He's right about that. Oh, welcome, Lady Jen. We were talking about you earlier. Hey, love to you as well. This is a travesty, and I'm sorry for Newsom to say this is politicizing it. But here's the thing: you literally are in a political position whose primary job is the safety of your citizens. I mean, that's really what government is for, right, Fletcher? I mean, it's not here just to take our money. It's not just to tell us where to wear a mask. The ideal of government is to manage. Is to manage the
that's what I think we were saying. That I think this is where
the floors of the forests, very important.
You're talking about.
You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said we have a much different. We're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation, and they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that to that end, and it's going to work out.
And when woo, wait, can we talk about the flex of President Trump?
Yeah, that was years ago.
I know, but wasn't he standing next to the governor at that time?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Basically telling him you're running your state badly, and other places that have a similar environment as yours that have forests like California does have done these managed burns, have cleared the underbrush, have done things that you don't have the will to do or won't do for whatever reason, can't get yourself around to doing, right in front of him, which would stop the problem of these wildfires out of control. What?
Yeah.
In front of him. I like that I'm sorry, that was a good flex. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. We can learn a lot from other places on this one. How is it that liberals love to learn from other places? They're always, lecturing us and chiding us about how Finland does it. Oh, in Sweden, they do this. Oh, in England. But when it comes to something like, forest management, oh no, we can't learn from them.
Right. From a forest nation.
Exactly. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're going to have to get to the mayor soon, okay. But before we got to stick with the governor. I mean, the governor is the head honcho of a state, right? I mean, people are getting on the mayor, and there's reasons to get on the mayor. And we'll get to the mayor, but the mayor, that's like, in a way, if you think of it this way, if you think of it as a family, just for the sake of a not very apt analogy, but it's the best I can come up with this morning. We're just getting our coffee here. It's like mom and dad would be governor, right? It's like that is the head, right? Of the, and then your biggest sibling, your big brother, your big sister, the one that when mom and dad go away, that person's in charge. And you really do have to listen to them or you can get in trouble because they're in charge. Right. That would be like your mayor. Okay, so your mayor is important. You've got to lay some blame at the feet of the mayor. Very much so, especially because, they're supposed to take care of things. And literally in my family, whoever's in charge, they get it just as much as the younger kids for screwing up if they were in charge. Okay, your job is to make sure the other ones don't do what they're not supposed to do. But at the end of the day, parents are the number one. And I mean, Governor Newsom has to take most of the blame for this. I think people are focused on the mayor, and they should be, but there's no one more at fault. The governor is the head of the whole state. He's in charge. we are a country that believes in federalism. We talk often about governmental structures here, Fletcher, and we're not experts at this, but we took our high school civics classes and we read all the time and we listen to other people and we learn and we stay abreast of these things. As a federalist society, there's a federal government that's where President Trump elect will be the head of, hopefully very soon here, and there'll be no problems with the smooth transition to power. And we have every state is its own sovereignty. It is its own, they work together. True, the federal government is supreme, but each state operates as its own little country, if you will. And the head of that country is the state's governor. Okay. So the head of California, that's Newsom. Yes, look at your mayor, but look at Newsom first. So I'm really, really grateful to you, Fletcher, for starting here. A lot of people have been starting with Mayor Bass, or however you say her name. But Newsom, or Newscom, as as Trump likes to call him, is really where the buck has to stop or start.
Right.
I mean, he's the head of the state. And as you're showing us, look at the devastation. Look at the devastation.
That's Malibu. We were just there not too long ago.
That is horrifying. Look at that, you all. Look at it. Go back to the other picture you have, Fletcher. Go back just for a minute.
Oh, so that's the palace, the East Palestine, I guess. Palestine, whatever, the upper, fancy neighborhood.
Okay, because you got me confused there. I'm like, Palestine you're showing us now? Yes. In Paris? What are you talking about right now?
The fires are still going on.
So you're saying this is LA, but it's an area that people call Paris or something?
It's I forgot what the name of it is. I apologize.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It's in LA. This is the devastating aftermath of the LA fires, which have destroyed thousands of homes. It says now 5 people are deceased. Dear Lord, we pray that you have mercy on their souls and that please comfort their families. Over 2,000 structures have burned down and at least 130,000 residents are under evacuation. That's outrageous, you all. This is an American city.
Palisade. Okay.
Palisade. Thanks, Sir Glenn. Sir Glenn rescued us. I don't know, Fletcher, between Palestine and Paris. Thank you, Lady Jen. Palisades. Thank you. We're all like calling it Poland. You know that area of LA called Poland.
You know that area. They got people
It's Palestine, the Palestine area of LA.
The Palestine area.
No, Paris. It's called Paris. That's what it is. No, thank you. Thank you so much, you all. Palisades. Yes. Go on. All right. So you were showing us the next part, Fletcher. Please show us.
Yeah. That's. I guess this is Malibu.
I can't believe that's Malibu. If anyone's ever been to Malibu, oh my word, you have no idea how terrible this looks. Malibu is one of the most beautiful areas of Southern California that you will ever see. I cannot believe what I'm looking at. I have not seen this. I am heartbroken seeing this. As Fletcher said, we've been there. It's beautiful. It's unbelievably beautiful. It's so built up. It looks like you're on a movie set. I've never seen anything like this. Wow, everything's burned. Oh my word, look at this.
Yeah, wow. And we have actor Zachary Levi, who's been in the news lately. He was saying that there should be like criminal charges brought up for this negligence.
Wow.
He was on Fox News, which is, I don't know if he's planning to run for something. It does sound like it.
Negligent. Because, I mean, Gavin Newsom has been either the governor for 5 years or lieutenant governor prior to that for 8-9 years. Some of the worst fires we've ever had in California under that watch. He clearly knows that the biggest problem that we suffer in California are these fires. And by the way, the mudslides that follow. And for them to do essentially not just nothing, but worse than nothing when firefighter budgets are being cut, when they are specifically intentionally not doing the work that could be done to avoid these problems or to be able to effectively serve them when they are happening, we are losing, I mean, I think it's something like millions of acres of feet of water runoff from rain and snow every year in California. As you pointed out, I think the smelt have something to do with that. That's an acre foot of water, by the way, is about 330,000 gallons of water. And there's millions of those that are just rolling off into the ocean when they could be captured in cisterns. We'd have an.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like they do have. I mean, my understanding is California had the wettest, like summer, but that none of that water was captured. I believe.
Wow, that's a shame. So that just shows you terribly gross criminal negligence. I mean, you have water going into the ocean that you could be capturing to fight fires and hold on to, keep them in cisterns, as this apparently intelligent actor is making out. I don't really listen to actors, but this one is making sense. And he's right. That's absolutely criminal mismanagement. That's one of the worst things. You're right. You have the water. It could be siphoned off. It could be held onto, or even that proposition you pointed out, Fletcher, earlier, that President Trump was alluding to when he says you turned down the proposition, which Newsom now pretends he didn't know what he was talking about. But, Lady Jen says, no, they didn't have a wet summer. So you might be wrong about that. So you didn't have a wet summer, Lady Jen?
Oh, they were saying that it's like high, because I remember when they had like the floods and stuff like that in LA. They had floods coming in and stuff. Yeah, they had a flood coming in. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because I remember talking to Polly about it. He was like, stay safe because everything's like flooding. So
maybe in certain areas, but either way, it sounds like there are better things that could be done in order to hold on to any water you do have, and also to divert water from other states who have excess water, which is what I believe Trump was saying, and which has not been undertaken. And I do believe that it is because of these environmentalist groups. They want to spend money. My understanding is that, a lot of money is spent on things that benefit them, and, and not on, the regular people. They're so, it's like almost a religion with that thing, It's almost like, like we talked about before, vegans and CrossFitters. You can put down people who believe in the weather on that list. They never shut up about it. And, they're very, very concerned, but they don't maybe balance it with everyday issues. It's important to plan for the future, but you also have to consider where you are right now in life. And that is, you have fires. So it's great to look out for the environment, but it's also important to think about what's your issue right now.
Yeah, and some people also said there's some arson going on. I guess
We're at 302 Pico, and people are lighting fires now. You can see they lit a fire. These guys, not all the people there, but some of those guys lit that fire, and they're actually the trees caught fire, and then the palms are catching fire. So,
is this recent, Fletcher?
Yeah, this is just I think last night.
So-called.
How sick can somebody be that as you are on fire to set more fires? These are very malicious and disturbed people. But you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned this, Fletcher, because this raises an issue we do have to talk about, and we do have to get to the mayor at some point. I know you want to do that as well. But some of these fires, my understanding, again, I don't have any direct knowledge, but they say are some of the migrants who live out in those forests, sometimes to evade capture, sometimes because they have illegal operations going on.
Right,
including in the old days,
the weed farms. Yeah,
the weed farms, and that they are setting these fires. And I've actually have read, and this is documented, about fires being deliberately set by certain criminal elements out there to avoid capture. Like when people come, and you can look this up yourselves, everyone. You can just probably, do a search. But there was at least one, if not two, that I read about, in which some people, some law enforcement were following people who had been doing illegal stuff out in those woods. And to evade capture, they set stuff on fire. And it's a very dangerous situation. I think at least one firefighter lost his or her life following one of these drug runners out in the woods, because what they did was set a fire And now that's impossible to manage because they have to take care of the fire. And that's what these criminals want, so that you can't go after them. And it puts them in a dangerous situation. As I said, I think one person actually, you can look this up. So that's something California has to look at as well. They have a situation where they've let, people who move around a lot. That's what the euphemism is now, Fletcher. Instead of, border crossers, people who move around a lot and who have criminal pasts and criminal intent who go into your forests. They're there in California. What do you think they're going to be too? And they sometimes deliberately set fires, as you're showing us right here. You have your whole city on fire and you set one on deliberately. I'm so glad it was captured.
Right. I mean, hopefully something will done about it, but
following up on Sergeant Visinger, he says he has had wet summers in Los Altos de Jalisco. I don't know where that is. Because Lady Jen said she didn't have a wet summer. But, California is such an odd place. If anyone's ever been there, we've been, you've lived there, right, Fletcher? I've never lived there, but I've been there many times.
Yeah.
You'll see that it's so diverse topographically and geographically. Like, it has a lot of different areas and so forth that can be almost like different countries. It might feel like if you've been in one, place, like, I don't know, say Los Angeles, and then, check out, Santa Barbara, whatever, or, anywhere, you see like a lot of variety, more so than you see in some of the other states. Other states tend to be kind of uniform throughout the state, but California is one of those places that's not like that. There are others, I'm sure, but that's one that's not. So maybe that's what's going on. But again, like we said, either way, whether it was a dry summer as Lady Jen experienced, or, pretty wet as Sergeant Visinger saw, California governor could do better at harnessing that water, making, protocols and rules so that water is harvested and not wasted. Whatever you get, whether it's dew from the morning mist to excess snow from the mountains from somewhere else or your own place, you can do better. Anyway, next, Fletcher, go for it. Oh my gosh, this is going to be the fun part, you all.
Okay,
fun.
So we have here is I guess a picture. I wanted to go with something a little bit the most non-biased, I guess, or more favorable.
Look at these people. Look at
the
these
most
folks.
favorable article, which would be from the LA Times, which is a very leftist newspaper. And they're even in a way they're trying to help her out. We don't want to pile on this, but
that's a great point,
she's
Fletch.
finally returned. So,
Fletch, you make an excellent point. This is the left's newspaper in Los Angeles, the LA Times. Almost every newspaper is fairly leftward bent, unless you deliberately seek out a conservative one, which we do try to do on this channel, because we do want to show sides that are not typically part of the mainstream, and all mainstream media tends to bend leftward. Well, here we have a leftward leaning newspaper that even says a terribly damning statement about the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. I'm going to say Bass. I don't know if it's Bass. If it's Bass, please someone let us know. Left LA for Africa as wind fire warnings increased. She returned to a burning city. So just to give you all a little backdrop, that just to unpack that a little bit. Apparently, so the mayor, I think she might be into her term, maybe not even a year, maybe a little longer. I could be wrong about that. But she was hired as a quote, alphabet. We don't want to say the letters. Oh, can we say the letters? Okay.
Oh.
The LGBTQ plus woman. I guess she might be the first.
I didn't know she was.
Yes. She's openly LGBTQ. The first, I think maybe the first openly gay person. I think that's what she was lauded by the press as the first female. So not just that, first female and openly gay person. No, maybe that's the fire chief. That's probably the fire chief.
I think what you're talking about. Yeah, because I did see there was an article on Pride
That's the fire. So that's like the next
Yes.
in line for this travesty. We have parents, that's Newsom. We have the big sister, that's Karen Bass, and then you have like that next kid who's in charge if the big sister.
Oh, I think I lost your audio. Can why don't you say something real quick? Did you unplug?
Oh, I'm back. I lost
I can hear you now. I can hear you
Okay,
now.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you now. Great. So yeah, well, I was saying we could come back to her, but why not start? We can start with her. But we got to get back to the mayor. Let me finish.
Go with the mayor. I mean,
let's finish the mayor. Come back to our fire chief because she is the next in line. So for our attack here, so to speak, the mayor has real concerns about DEI. Wants to focus on that. Made a lot of decisions to divert funding from the fire management to DEI concerns, from what we've been told, and was invited to go to Ghana, West Africa, which is a great country. Wonderful, wonderful for her to get that opportunity. But she did go, and at first I thought, well, you know what, you can't blame her. She got an opportunity, she went, and then as she's away, what I only held her for was not coming back sooner, because I'm thinking if I'm all overseas, I'm the mayor of a city, and it's on fire, I'm getting the first flight out. Okay, I'm getting out. But what we find now is that she already had signs that something was happening and still left.
That part.
What? She left town as her city was getting on fire. I'm sorry, you don't do that. You don't do that. You postpone what's an optional trip, taxpayer paid, by the way, and you take care of business. You don't, you don't take off and do your, do whatever photo ops, whatever you're doing. When you know that you're in charge, you're supposed to take care of business.
No, it just feels like you're on a world tour, which is fine. Nobody's saying that you can't have a break. Nobody's saying that they can't do all this stuff. Although I don't understand why, I guess is there a cultural exchange? My understanding is she went there for, I guess is a coronation or something like that in Ghana. But yeah, like you were saying, the city was already having issues. And at that time, you would think you would like try to preempt.
It was already on fire.
Right. So you would kind of go, okay, this is the list, right?
Listen, first of all, everything you can see, I want to talk about some things Sir Glenn is saying, but listen, and I have more to say about this mayor, but look, everybody at the picture Fletcher has pulled up for us. Look at this picture. Does this not tell you everything? They are two peas in a pod. Look at this picture. Hand on hip, almost as if they were doing a photo op themselves right now. The glasses, which I bet neither of them needs. The kind of like, I'm part of the FBI kind of issued jacket. Right. But of course, branding on Newsom, they look concerned with the smirk on the face, and it's coordinated, right? He has his left arm up. She has her right arm up. So it looks like mirror images in the photo. She's smirking to the right. He's smirking to the left. They got the collars. What in the world are we? You know what? I guess in LA, you got Hollywood politicians too. So everyone went Hollywood. This looks like does this not look like your DVD cover for some like outtake for like, for some TV movie pilot?
Right.
Yeah, TV show. Does that not look like that? And the guy in the middle, that's good.
Really
I can already write the characters. These are characters. Lester Glenn, you put your left smirk in, you take your left smirk out, you put your left smirk
You
in.
put your hands in your
Shake it
pocket
all
and you
about.
look at the camera
And you look at all
with your
about.
right angle.
Oh my gosh, my good side. And don't tell me they didn't decide who's on what side based on their right sides. Don't tell me that. Perfectly coiffed. You know what I mean? Oh my word. Let me tell you something right now, too. That t-shirt, that shirt hanging, the Oxford shirt hanging out, just that trust and believe that was also by design. Okay, trust and believe. That's like, look at me. I've been up all night. I can't even tuck in my shirt. No. This is all these people. These are the most fakety fake people. And listen, Mayor Bass, okay, I got her mixed up with the fire chief. We're going to come back to some of Sir Glenn's comments here. One of them, well, we can take right now, is more important for you to be viewed favorably in Ghana than to take care of your city. That is true. She had to look good and not leave right away because she only came back yesterday. The fire has been raging for days. And you know what? I just happen to know, Fletcher, having been to Ghana, West Africa myself, that there are direct flights between Ghana and Los Angeles.
Oh, yes, there is direct flights from Ghana to Los Angeles. But
there's no reason she couldn't be, her behind couldn't have been. And by the way, I think she ended up using a military plane, so costing people even more money. She could have been, the minute she heard, of course, she shouldn't have left because already the fire was kicking up when she got on that plane. But when she heard it got out of control, she should have been back within, fast, post haste, as they say, and been back on a flight. That's what you do. That's your town. But listen, check this out, you all. My understanding is that Mayor Karen Bass slashed the fire department's budget last year while prioritizing spending on the city's interminable homeless population, which never goes away. It only gets worse. My understanding is that for the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year, Los Angeles budgeted $837 million for the Los Angeles Fire Department, which was roughly 65% the size of the homeless budget of $1.3 billion.
It's just crazy.
And half the budget for the homelessness went unspent. And let me tell you, I'm sure all of it went to absolutely no good purpose. Because as we have discussed before, I think on this channel and others have pointed out, the homeless problem is very complex to fix. And it's not just about throwing money at it. It's a very complex problem because the kinds of people who end up homeless are not always just your poor people, poor regular people. That is a very tiny number. It's a lot of people who are strung out on drugs, who have complex mental health issues and other problems. And that's not a problem you can just throw money at to fix. It's going to take a lot of issues and addressing. But okay, some of these comments are just awesome. Sergeant Vinziger says, sure looks like it. Thank you. I feel vindicated. This looks like a new show. It's going to start in February. Please tune in to LA Fire, starring Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. And of course, always one black gentleman in the movie, in the buddy movie. Newsom smirk, be all end all. Yes. It's like he's governing by smirk. They both are. That's how you govern. If you remember as children, did you ever read this book, Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll? Sometimes known as Alice in Wonderland, is one of my favorites. When I was a kid, I read it all the time. And there was a Cheshire cat. If anyone remembers, please tell us in the comments. And he was known with a big smile, like a smile of a Cheshire cat. He couldn't be trusted. And at one point, he disappears and all that's left is a smile. Also, as Lady Jen points out, the irony here is her name is Karen. Yes, we all know the name Karen.
Yeah, it's just you can't really get away from that. And it's, you're almost starting to feel sorry for women that are named Karen. And then stuff like this happens.
To be honest with you, a lot of Karens are like that, like literally those named that as well. Now, to be fair to Mayor Bass, apparently she did propose, well, not to be fair, actually to be not fair, worse to her. She proposed a larger budget cut to the Los Angeles Fire Department. She could propose to cut about $23 million, but it wasn't adopted. So, apparently Fox News did reach out, Fox Business, to her office for comment on the reasoning behind the budget cuts, but has not heard back. I don't think they will hear back.
Yeah, because my heard is that they spent like 50 million or something on like diversity and inclusion stuff and different, kind of,
Yeah, things
things
that,
that,
hey, hey,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard. I'm trying not to.
yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Listen, Fletcher and I are not on the same political spectrum completely. I don't think there's no value in those programs. I think there is very little value in those programs vis-a-vis safety and security of your state and your city. You got to keep the fire department going. Don't make budget cuts to that. Not for homelessness, not for DEI, not for anything else. That's basic management. You got to take care of what's important first. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that other things that are not, immediately relatable aren't important. Just as in a family, sometimes you budget to go to Disney World. When, you say, let me just put the college spending off, let's have fun. It happens, but you gotta keep your eye on the prize. Okay. And that doesn't seem to have happened here. As Sergeant Visinger says, yep, let's not forget they spent it on Coke and super expensive hobbies that are more expensive than gunplay. Yeah.
Yeah, and gunplay, it's very expensive.
It's true.
You won't let me have
I don't listen.
robot.
Just I don't listen. We don't want to inadvertently say anything defamatory. I don't know if they purchase illicit mind altering materials. Or super expensive hobbies, but it doesn't seem that I wouldn't find that hard to believe. And it doesn't seem anyway that they're doing anything that's really super useful for their states. This seems to be like this picture tells you everything you want to know about what's happening. First of all, one thing I know that from the time I was a little kid, I wasn't permitted as a child to put my hand on my hip like that. Because it looks like a little bit like, what are you doing? You're posing. If you can pose, you can get to work. Pick up your toys.
Right.
Go make your bed. What are you
Right.
doing? Are you posing? That's for somebody who's finished their work. So you are in the scene of something going on, and you have your hand poised like that. It's just perfect. Like these two chicken wings. It's just crazy. Yeah,
No,
municipalities are really important to running a city, as Lady Jen says, and you've got to
completely. Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. You got
to. Yeah. I mean, this is the fire department today. They literally had like bags to put water out, and some people are saying those are like handbags or something. I think they're water type bags or something. But this is not top of the line, I don't think.
Yeah, this is man. Are you serious? He's using little water bags.
Yeah, it's
oh my
crazy.
Gosh. And listen, Mayor Bass, I mean, one of the worst things about how she dealt with this in Africa, thousands of miles. Yes, her addressing the people.
Oh yeah. So I think this is a joke one. So I don't know if so let's see what we have on this.
Build stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
No, that's not a joke. I mean, they added in the memes, but she did say URL. From what I've read from every other source today about this situation, she did address the people at a press conference, as you're pointing out, Fletcher, standing a few feet away on the planes from the plane's ramp as she waited clearance to leave, stared blankly at people, read from notes. Okay, so she couldn't even just look at people and just say what you're going to say and then read the part with URL. It's like, what are you talking about right now?
It's like,
you don't say URL. Nobody says URL. Just say the website, or say it can be found online. I think someone wrote it for her and probably put that in as a placeholder, and she ended up reading it.
Just, it's like, it's almost feel like you're getting sabotaged. But this goes more in the line of this whole attacking the DEI stuff. And this was, I guess, the LA County had this.
You're gonna talk about the fire chief, right? That's the first openly LGBTQ. When she said her first priority was DEI as fire chief.
Right, but it looks like they've been talking about this for a while. So it's, yeah.
Let's hear it.
We are hosting our new employee orientation, and our focus is to teach our new employees for them to understand cultural competency, identify implicit and unconscious bias, and be aware of the importance of us having a diverse and inclusive workforce.
Diversity is important because the different people bring different lenses to their job, and those different ideas, those different lenses are important to have the best practices for our industry.
We have people here from hazmat, we have dispatchers in the room, we have people that are responsible for financial management, we have our information management division, and also from human resources. So we have a variety of professionals that are receiving this training.
We teach people how to deal with conflict.
So, I mean, you don't have water to your fire hydrants, but what special days do you observe or celebrate every year? Why are these days special? It's I mean, it's nice, right? I mean,
yeah, it's nice. I mean, here's the thing. Like, yeah, it's not good. I mean, she's not wrong. Lady Jen is correct. This is very poor management. Like, very piss poor management. Yes, she said it. Sir Glenn said it. I have to now repeat it. It's bad. But here's the thing. You can do both, and you can certainly talk about, issues of equity, inclusion, diversity, but you got to have your priorities straight, right? Your first priority is making sure that you can have competent people who know their jobs, who are capable of doing them swiftly and excellently in a situation of crisis, that you have all the infrastructure, right? All of the financial support, everything you need to, kill the fire. And last I checked, as Lady Jen says, fire doesn't care about DEI. No, it doesn't. It doesn't care.
What?
Let me tell you something. I don't care. If I'm in a burning building, God forbid, I do not care if a white man comes and gets me. Come get me, white man. Come get me, tall, strong white man, out of this building that's burning. Please don't bring a small woman who is, LGBT and has checked all the right boxes and has the right pronouns. Please don't bring her if she can't carry my behind out of that fire. I don't care about that. I care about the person being able to do the job. I'm sorry. And I'm tired of this fight, because I was so happy to hear we love Uncle ABL. That's Anthony Brian Logan. He has a channel here on these YouTube platforms. He has a great show. And he mentioned in his last live show that his father was, a fireman, and said that he really didn't see women being such a big role in the firefighting, which women have been really hard to be a part of this, because they don't have the same physical abilities. And he said, like you just mentioned here, or just showed them mentioning dealing with conflict. He says a lot of the conflict is when you have women in the fire departments, because they do have to be in close quarters, and they sleep together, eat together, and it's awkward. We have a woman there sharing the bunks in there, and in the firehouse. He says that's where a lot of conflicts come in. Now, I don't know. I've never been a firefighter. I don't have anyone in my family who are firefighters. I support them. We have given to the firefighting ball in our cities where we've lived, but I don't really know them. But it sounds reasonable to me. And you know what? At the end of the day, I remember hearing that Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor also was the judge over a case. I don't know if it was in Connecticut or where. I'm not sure where she was judged before she became on the Supreme Court, but also like ruled in favor of female firefighters being able to join, even with, I think, lower standards, because the women, they really can't lift and pull or do the things that the men can because they don't have the upper body strength just naturally. Right. It no matter how strong you are. There are some exceptions, of course. There's always exceptions, but for the most part, the women who apply don't have the same qualities that the men have. And so I don't think, Fletcher, you were telling me that something like most fire chiefs now are women or something, or maybe that's just in California.
Yeah, maybe just in LA that they have so many, but I did see a lot more of that. But it looks like they're trying to push. I mean, there's nothing wrong with something that a woman can bring something. I mean, the majority, there's a lot of women that are way smarter than me, you included. But I think I can lift more than you, and I probably can break down a door completely easier than you, and I can lift you. You can't lift me. And it just, to me, was
That's true.
concerning. It's like I don't mind that there's a strong woman. I've seen strong women, but those are few and far between. And some of those ladies in the room didn't seem that. I mean, got to give it to this lady. She does look like she can lift, right? So I mean,
inspired. She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? So I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300,
it's never enough.
Only 115.
Yeah, it's never enough. But
it's never enough. How many women do you want? How many people of color do you want? It's never enough. Are you serious, lady? Are you serious? And that's the one I was referring to earlier. Maya Culpa, I got that wrong. She's the first openly gay and female fire chief, I guess, for California. Right. Yeah, I don't know if it's LA or California.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, did they get the jump on San Francisco? Don't know.
Can you read this to us, Fletcher, right here? What you're showing us? That's really good at the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it says, do you really think that DEI really made the damage from this fire's worse? Oh, yeah, I do. DEI was the fire's chief focus, and the departments plus the cities spent money on DEI while dangerous brush had to be cleared and fire hydrants didn't have water. DEI is actually deadly. Now, I think this is, it's coming from a place of, Robbie Starbuck has been fighting this DEI stuff for a while. Like we said, we have, I guess the different things with DEI is because we feel that diversity and inclusion should be organic. And if there's something missing, like let's say you have a large area of, I don't know, like an enclave of Nigerians, Ethiopians, or something like that, or people that don't speak your language or culture, then I can see somebody saying, okay, hey, do we have any firefighters that are from that region? Because what you could do is basically say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to talk to the community, maybe practices and stuff like that. Because, it's a cultural thing where you're like, this is actually going to help. But if it's forced, if it's mandated, saying, okay, this is my goal. I thought your goal was to fight fires and to make sure the fires don't get started.
Yeah, exactly. Fletcher, I really appreciate your comment because that's what we would say. Sometimes conservatives are a little bit knee-jerk about some of these things. It's certainly the case that DEI is pretty corrupt in many places. But as a concept, it's not. I mean, the idea of equity sounds good. Inclusion sounds good. It's a problem is when you force it upon people, make it go all the way woke, completely subvert traditional values, and completely do so at the expense of excellence and competence. And that's the problem. It's not that, anyone is against, I think, like you say, if it's a situation where that could be a way to reach communities you wouldn't otherwise reach, if that is important. But as Lady Jen and Sir Glenn have said, fires don't care about the diversity. You don't really need that. Now, if you need, let's say you have an initiative like back when I was a kid, I don't know if they still do this, but it was Smokey the Bear. It was a bear who would tell you how to avoid fires, and they would have these little cartoons. They also had Jimmy the Cricket. I think that's from Disney, talking about how you should not smoke. I don't know. It was really wild growing up in the 80s, but in the 90s and 80s. But they could do something like that. I mean, like if, like you said, you're in an Ethiopian area, and let's say they have certain habits that are of concern to the local municipality that might impact, say, fire prevention. And you know the best way to reach them would be maybe having someone who speaks their language, who understands them, and that they would respect. Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you hire someone who can do that? That's common sense. And that's something that, you know, I don't know if Robbie Starbuck would have a problem with or not, but that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense when what your issue is just to prevent and fight fires, that you have to have an LGBTQ person do it. You have to have a person of color do it. You have to have a woman do it. No, you have to have the most competent person do that. And don't look at their color, look at what they can do. And then don't go out of your way trying to hire somebody or promote some concepts that don't have anything to do with the job at hand. And I think that's where we are getting at. So I would agree with Starbuck here, but I also would take issue DEI is actually deadly. In the concept we're looking at, is DEI the reason Newsom is in charge? Because the number one buck stopping place is your governor. That's the person who sets policy for your whole state. And then next, maybe your mayor. And they had all these stupid DEI initiatives that really seem to be at the expense of competence here and management, you know, excellent management.
That's where things kind of, you know, you have leadership in place. They can't, you know, they, like we were talking about earlier, all the money that went for the homeless, billions of dollars. I believe I was reading an article and they were talking about how like millions of dollars to those homeless shelter funds have gone missing in California, and nobody knows where they are. It's like, you know, if we lose $10, we're running around looking for those $10. I mean, I don't understand how you lose that much money, but I guess if you're a rich state like that, but yeah,
I like how
Sir
Glenn. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's really good. I remember thank you, Lady Jen, for remembering Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. That's what I recall. Thank you, Sir Glenn, for they stand by the fire trucks screaming, "Stop the fire!" That's
messed up.
That's messed up. Sorry. Oh, you love that. Of course you love that. I think I should be objecting here. Is that being chauvinistic?
Is that chauvinistic?
Yeah, it's male.
Well, we have a new off-grid Colorado. Welcome.
Welcome, Duke, Colorado, or Duke Off-Grid. Everybody gets a noble title if they join our channel and leave a comment. So come and you get a royal title from King Fletcher and Queen Ursula.
So he
Duke.
says the Ukrainians own Biden, have all the goods they need to destroy the Bidens. Biden is just a foreign agent. That's interesting because we were talking about that because the Biden did not go. I think he was planning to go to LA. But then he had, we will talk about it later. President Carter, I guess, the funeral is going on right now. We'll go to that in a little bit, for a bit. But we did want to talk about this because it seems that other countries are more important than this one still again, because this was part of what was happening when the fires were going on. There was substantial, money going to Ukraine again. And
Fletcher, what is this Ukraine obsession right now? What's going on?
It's obviously the most important thing in the world. And hey, anybody who's suffering in a war zone, there's several going on around the world. This one, for some reason, takes precedent over every single one. And we send so much money there, money that's lost. Nobody's accounted for that money. And that's just kind of where my issue is. When you send, I can send my nephew's money, and you send kids money. and you ask them, or when they ask you for money and you're like, hey, I need to buy X, and you go, okay, cool, here's some money, go buy yourself that X, right? And then
Right.
they send you a picture with X, right? So they're like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
I got the baseball cap, check it out, this is me wearing I got a baseball bat, this is me in the baseball bat. We sent billions over, and what do we have to show for it, and what can they show us that it was used on, because that's all you kind of want. And it's like, a lot of people are like, okay, I'm into the, like, everybody. I mean, we're very charitable as a country, but we can't be charitable to the sense of just throwing money out there, because right now in California, there's people without a home, and California has one of the most horrible, homeless problems in the United States. Is, though, I believe, the largest. You already had problems with people trying to find affordable homes. You just took out, like, like billions of dollars in homes for not being prepared. Why are you sending so much, all this money that you sent over there? You have a war zone in Los Angeles. There's a war zone in Los Angeles right now. There's people displaced. There's people that have passed away that don't have something. Maybe they don't even have money to bury the people that passed. There's people that lost their homes. There's nothing that they can do. And what are you doing? You're giving money that we don't even know where it's going. If you can tell me this is gonna help save a orphanage in Ukraine, right? And say, okay, where's it going? And they can tell you at XXX, and it's going here and it's going there. And you're like, okay, then I guess more people would be open to some of this stuff.
Right.
But where's the heck is this money going? What has happened? There's nothing going. This is just, it feels like an unending thing. And we don't even see, what are they even doing?
No, those are great points, Fletcher. And I think you just summarized what my issue was with it. I didn't even know myself. I mean, that's the biggest problem. What is it going for? And how does it benefit us? That's the only thing you can be concerned about. I know that Americans tend to be very generous, as you said, and very philanthropic. Most of us, I think the amount of money that Americans give to charity just voluntarily exceeds what most people do in the world. We tend to be a Christian nation. A lot of people understand that to mean you must give to people who need. But this is getting out of control. We still have our own country to manage. Right. And it's not an order, to give when you don't have it. And we have trillions of dollars of debt. We have problems, serious problems in our own country. How is it that we're giving billions, not millions, billions, not 1 billion, billions to another country for anything?
Well, that's what I'm saying. How much is it going to take to fix it? There's old ladies right now without a house. There's people out of a hospital right now in Los Angeles. And the thing is,
there's still people in North Carolina who haven't gotten
there's still people in North Carolina. Oh my gosh, North Carolina, they were just harassing. They were just harassing in North Carolina. They were just harassing the Amish for building the little tiny houses for people. And they were building out of their own money, the Amish there, and they were like saying, "Oh, this and that." Where the FEMA hasn't even, I think they haven't even built anything. But this goes along with stuff on LA. LA hasn't built anything. What are they going to build with so much restriction, with so much red tape that's happening in Los Angeles and the county? How long is it going to take to rebuild all this stuff? Is it going to be like Hawaii all over again? Is it going to be like it's going to be like Ohio all over again? It's like we're having these massive destruction size catastrophes, or like fires or explosions and stuff like that, and nothing is being done. The government is like at a standstill. It just feels like it can't do anything right now.
Yeah. and yet we have money to give. You know how out of order earlier, thank you, Fletcher, it's an excellent reflection. Earlier, I was talking about how in some ways you can think of, the government as a family. Not that it really is. It's a poor analogy, but it's the one that's most accessible to me today without full coffee octane here. But if you think about it, it would be akin to your father, who's the breadwinner in your family, perhaps giving money to, I don't know, people at his job. And you're like, your kids need shoes, there's not enough food on the table. Your wife says, I need stuff, and you're like, yeah, but they're really needy. Like, yeah, we want to be helpful. We want to give, but that's out of order. Our country is in debt. How are we giving $4 billion? Now, if you tell me, no, we have to give them money because they are protecting us or they were doing something that's for our benefit. But what is Ukraine doing for us? What do
Yeah,
we get
and
out
that's
of
the
this
thing. The other thing was like they literally sent the LA Fire Department sent helmets, equipment, and stuff to Ukraine. Is Ukraine flying some people in to help them out?
Yeah. How about giving that back, that love back? Give the love back. How about that?
That's just insane.
When we can't count on them if we're in crisis. It's not that we don't care, but I don't see how that makes a lot of sense. I think people are hopefully starting to wake up. It's just out of order. You don't give to others when you're in need for yourself. I mean, not saying you don't give a little. Okay, you should always give, but at some point, $4 billion.
No, that's just part. It's not even including all the stuff we gave already.
Wow.
That was like what they want to continue to give, and Biden has been pushing it to give. So it's like, it's not even, I mean, come on, man. There's people hurting here still. And right now, more than ever, it's not like people are saying online, there's a lot of people on the right dunking. And it's like, yeah, that's cool to dunk. But at the same time, that there's a lot of, I mean, if you don't want to do it just for the humanity part that people are suffering, do it for the part that there's a lot of Republican also there. There's a lot of conservatives there in that area of California too. But even if there weren't, we don't do that. We want to help out. It does go with the line. So we were talking about that. Our charity of the day for today is Catholic Charities of LA Disaster Relief. Now, people can dunk on Catholic Charities all they want. They're the largest provider, not only to homeless people, but also to people in need, people that need food. And they're considered one of these like A+ or something. I don't remember how they're graded as charities, but basically means where all the money's going, and it's not all going to infrastructure. And this one,
I think for something. Go ahead, Fletcher.
No, this one is going specifically for the disaster relief in Los Angeles. And the Los Angeles area, Catholic Charities has several missions in the area, and priests and nuns who are in volunteers who are giving already, and they're already doing stuff on the ground. So, and it's a safe thing. Where your money's going to go.
Okay, so I personally am not a fan of Catholic Charities, but I think for this purpose, if you are giving just to this part of it, that would be, as Fletcher said, really good. I do believe that if you give to this particular earmarked, okay, they can't use it for anything else, guys. So when you give to a charity and it's earmarked for a particular funding source, in this case, the LA disaster relief, they have to use it for that. So you don't have to worry. Those of you who have legitimate concerns about how
this is not going to needles for prostitutes or condoms,
or bringing more border crossers over,
bringing more people that can set fires,
has been caught doing
weed farms, right?
So I would not give I would not give to Catholic Charities just outright, but I would give to Catholic Charities of LA Disaster Relief, because you can guarantee that they will do it for that purpose. They have very strange ideas about other things, but when it comes to this, I think, Fletcher, you were getting at that. I just want to make it more clear to our listeners and viewers what you were saying about people dunking, because some of us older folks don't know what you mean when you say dunking on people from LA. What does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I
Sorry.
think what Fletcher's trying to say is that some of the comments on the blogs, on the videos, and in the newspaper articles, whatever, from people on the right have been very derogatory and negative, saying basically, you people in LA voted for this. This is why you're suffering. Haha, too bad for you. And as Fletcher was saying, we don't do that here as as believers, as Christian believers, Catholic Christian believers. We have to love people. And even if they did cause this on themselves, we still have to be compassionate. And in fact, remember, not everyone caused this on themselves. As Fletcher pointed out, a lot of conservatives, a lot of moderates, a lot of real thinking, decent people live in those same areas. They have to be there for work, for family. And we have shown the maps before. A lot of these places are very much red, except for little tiny enclaves that have a higher density population that govern the whole state when they do vote. So it's not that they voted for this. In many cases, like look at Orange County, that's one of the most red places. It's really a lot of conservatives there who did not vote for Newsom or probably Bass to run them. But even if they did, we care and we have to want to give. And I thank you, Fletcher, for putting that up there. And it's very important that we have the right kind of response to disasters. We can't just say, oh, you know what, God wills it. Oh, because you're bad people, because that's not true. Things happen that are not good to good and bad people. Sir Glenn.
Disaster is a disaster.
Yeah. Yes. Adam Carolla said that a lot of Democrats are going to become Republicans when they have to deal with California bureaucracy in their efforts to rebuild. Wow. Can you break that down for us, Fletcher?
Yeah, and this was Adam Carolla, and I was gonna play it, but
maybe say who he is. I don't.
So Adam Carolla is it's an actor. He's an actor. He's got a podcast. He's a comedian. He's living in LA all his life. It's funny now because now he's one of those fellas that he had like a strong work ethic, always work, was poor, had to work early. And he has friends like Jimmy Kimmel. They used to do a show together called The Man Show, which was, very, that whole like sexism thing and all stuff. It was racy. But then after, with Kimball, he got super woke, and Adam Carolla stayed kind of, regular person. And he was upset because he had to leave his home in LA. And he was saying that the regulation that's coming, I would play it, but there's a lot of explanatives, and I didn't have time to mute them all. I'm trying to get a buzzer for it so we can mute, cussing. So it was a lot of cussing because he was basically saying everybody that's going to want to rebuild, right, in the area now, that's very deep blue, are going to have to deal with the government of that area with worker permits, with water rights. I mean, all kinds of stuff. How they're gonna if they want grass or not, all this kind of things and it's going to turn them into maybe wanting less government. They might want to become Republicans now because you're basically saying you're not letting me do anything because I have to jump through all these hoops to actually get something done. Because don't forget the regulations for building in California are so harsh. That's why there's a housing problem. They're not allowed to build what material they can build. What can it, and plus, I don't know how many other things Gavin Newsom has applied to this, new stuff, that regulations, and stuff that needs to happen. So I can imagine the frustration on people if they want to actually rebuild something now in modern California governors. So yeah, he was talking that it's not going to be pretty, and I think it's going to be a shift. So I don't know if it's going to be a shift to more like a Reagan California, but who knows what's going to happen after this. My thing is just let's come together and help uh, as much as we can, because that's what America should be known for and is known for, to help each other out. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's making a good point. It's like there used to be an expression, everybody's a liberal until they get mugged or something like that. And then they become, conservative. They're like, I'm tough on crime. Yeah, I think this is the same idea, only in this case, from not the criminal side, but from the civil side, which is, once they start to see what's really at hand in their state, that it's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that it seems the left is really especially good at proposing and propounding, that they're going to see that's not the way to go, and more freedom, less government overreach and interventions are what's better for them, and they'll really understand that when they are in that position. I think that's probably true for people in North Carolina who were left out in the hurricane. I bet you that hurricane turned a lot of people away from Harris, if not towards Trump, because they saw the federal government just did not do anything to help them, or didn't do enough to help them. And they probably said, you know what, forget this. It's happening in Illinois. A lot of people especially a lot of Black people who have declared they're for Trump, they voted for him. They said it was a huge shift of people who are Black in Chicago in particular changing to Trump, because they say that they felt in this whole borders, people who move around a lot crisis, that they're being ignored, that their concerns are being ignored, that the infrastructure is being degraded by this influx of people, that services and other supports that they have come to rely upon and depend upon, that their children use, have been taken from them without justification for the sake of newcomers who don't produce any more than they do in many cases, and so on. And they've been just ignored. So they have changed. So I think Corolla probably makes a good point. We'll see. Because California is very, very blue in general. I mean, aside from those, again,
the
the
LA
areas that
area
are blue,
for sure,
the LA area, yeah. Not all of it is, yeah.
Right. So
Not all
yeah,
of
I
it
don't
is.
know, but we do have some hope, especially in our young folk, as some of our uncles say, right? They do the the young folk. The young folk are doing all right.
The youngins.
The youngins are doing all right. So this was disturbing and hopeful, I guess, at the same time. And it's an OnlyFans influence. For those who don't know, OnlyFans, it's a website. My understanding is that
And if you don't know it, please don't get to know it, because I don't know it, and
pretty
I don't
much,
want to get to know it.
don't get to know it, but it's a website. I believe it's like a strip club website. I guess is that what it would be considered. It's kind of like an online strip club, or peep show. I mean, yeah, whatever it is. So this so-called influencer, Bonnie Blue, I guess is the name, was trying to proposition a young man, and he rejected her. So this is from Red State. If you're not familiar with the gaggle of OnlyFans influence, there are typically women who go above and beyond to be as promiscuous and sexually active as possible. One of those influencers is named Bonnie Blue, the real name Tia Bellingham, I guess, a woman who touts herself as a sex educator while pulling up some of the most.
I'm laughing at that. Sex educator.
Right. I just, yeah. While pulling some of the most disgusting stunts to make herself as well-known figures in the OnlyFans industry. I would advise you to watch my friend Sydney Watson recent video on the subject. She covers the predatory nature of this influence and the grotesque stunts that they pull in order to climb to the top of influence ladder in the field. But warn some of the readers that some of these things they do is rather shocking. Yeah, and it is kind of shocking. I believe this is a great video by Ms. Watson, but it's a lot of the things that they do is they prey on a lot of these lonely men that we have now, that are not married, and they find the escapism of this thing where you have to look at women in unkind ways, in a sense, in their privacy, and they exploit that, right? They ask them for money. They have a lot of like people give them thousands of dollars, for like, I don't know, like exclusive content type deals. Who knows? I mean, I'm trying to find gracious words to say. I'm trying to find words that don't end me up in confession. Not
or
being
YouTube jail. So basically, what we have here
that's for
is the
talking about
most vicious form of cougarism. This is not like the cute thing you see on the TV primetime dramas of the slightly older woman or even significantly older woman going with a younger guy. This is really horrible what happened here, because this terrible woman went into a fast food restaurant called Five Guys, makes a disgustingly ribald, lewd joke at the young man about Five Guys and what she would like to do with them, and asking if it's on the menu. And this poor kid who's working there, which is already a kind of exploitation, he's there at doing his job, right, lady?
Right,
You're coming in here, bringing in your video cameras and doing crap, making a joke about Five Guys, asking about it being on the menu. And he says, he's confused, trying to understand what kind of burger this woman wants. As it turns out, she's saying she wants some kind of sexual interplay with him. I'm trying to say that in a nice way. And
right,
it's shocking. It's shocking to him. No, but it's before that. This goes before it, Fletcher. That's when we get to the actual question. She keeps asking lewd questions, again with the pun of the name. Okay, so now we're ready. And then we get to the denouement here.
Denouement, yeah. Oh, by the way, this is the lady who was famous not too long ago in the Interflex because she had sexual intercourse with 100 men. So that's the
I don't know if we need to say
person.
that.
Yeah,
I just wondered, I can't see it on the menu,
Here?
but where do I get the Five Guys from? The Five Guys. I didn't know if there was like a special room where you can take me out back.
No, I don't think that's happening.
What?
So he already understands that her inference, right? He's hip to it. He understands that she's just being lewd.
Yeah, he got it after the first time. Yeah, you're right. He got it took him a minute. He's not completely gullible.
Right. He's not completely gullible. He's not unwise. It says to be wives as wolves, gentle as doves. And I think he exemplifies this right now. And and good on him also, because we do get a lot of some people sometimes, on our side criticizing black young men. And here you have a black young man that's, carries himself with integrity and Christianity in all this. So, yeah, let's focus on some of these stories as well, guys. We're all, all of us Catholics are
let's talk about
a
it
universal
after.
church.
Absolutely.
So,
let it play out and we'll talk about it.
What about after your shift? I mean, I'd want to give you, a good rating.
I'm a Christian man and I'm with saving myself marriage.
I'm asking for what's on the menu, that's all.
Genuinely, I feel like I'm doing it right now. I can hunt your menu if you want.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a shame.
That's a real shame that she said that. I'm really disgusted to see that. That is so awful. Like, it's so awful. A couple of things that, you were saying, Fletcher, go ahead. I'll take up what I think you were saying, which is that this young man, in case you didn't hear that, because the audio is not obviously ideal, this was kind of like guerrilla videotaping, even though I believe she was doing this on purpose. She likes to, this woman, get views and, likes online, leading to her financial, progress for these kinds of stunts. So she's doing it, but it's still hard to hear the audio. So she asks him, she propositions him sexually, very unabashedly. And this young man says, "Oh, I'm a Christian man. I'm waiting until marriage." And it's really lovely. And as Fletcher says, that's not something you hear every day. And you definitely don't get that in the news media about young Black men. So here's a young Black man. He's employed. He's, decent. And he is virtuous, right? He says, "I do not want to go in the back with you," although she's an attractive, blonde, good-looking lady. I don't know if lady is the right word, but we'll be generous and say lady. And this woman is the very worst of society. She has made, the marital intimacy that should take place just between a man and woman in marriage into something that's of a commercial nature, and worse, publicizing it, making money off of it, and then trying to prey upon innocent people like this young man to bring him into her madness, right? Into her disgusting, filthy ways of acting, like she wants to go in the back. That's disgusting. That's nothing holy or good or righteous or decent or civilized about that. And to proposition this young man when he's at work, he's at work. Let this man work. The fact that you have so little respect and regard for legitimate work that you would do this to someone who's working. Like, literally, I know that one of my girlfriend's moms, she called me one time at work. She had a favor to ask me, and she said that her husband lost it. He was like, do not call young people at their jobs. And I said, "Oh, I don't mind." She says, "No, I was wrong. And I got corrected. It's true. Let you guys do your jobs. Like, any distraction, you're young, you can lose your job, you can get in trouble. They may not know whose fault it is. If you have a not understanding boss, what can happen with the wrong kind of boss? They look at this and think maybe he's part of the stunt, right?"
No, right. How about that you could get him fired?
You could get this poor kid fired. That could change his whole life. He might be making money for college, making money to help his parents out, maybe making money to propose to his girlfriend and do it the right way. But your dumb behind comes in here so selfish, so exploitative, and using your nasty self, being with all these guys to try to bring this nice, pure, virginal guy to go out with you in the back, which could be tempting. It could be tempting. And that's not consent. She was asked about this, and people have come against her now. And she says, "Well, it's consenting." No, it's not. When you go against 18, first of all, she doesn't ask this kid's age. He might be 16. Right. He could be 15. He could be, he could be under 18.
How about if she was a man?
Right. You don't know what's going on
Have
here.
this whole conversation, him being a man, and then what are people going to say?
Right.
Imagine that. Because a lot of people with this whole thing, it's like, "Oh, it's an attractive woman. That's a win for a man." No, let's
no. That's the whole thing that this shows. Women
right.
can be just as predatory as men. A woman can be just as disgusting and vile and evil. God does not discriminate. Okay, he made us both having capacities to do right and also to do wrong, regardless of your race, gender, what have you. Okay, so she's a woman. So what? She's still evil. This is evil. We're going to call it what it is. I'm not saying that she can't be redeemed or saved, but what she's doing is absolutely evil. And she can say all she wants. Well, they consent is not consent when you have young people and you overwhelm them with what you're doing. It's like taking someone that she knows who's innocent, takes this kid and be like, "Oh, come out back with me." That's not necessarily, it may not be by force, but you can't really call that consensual. What that is predation. Okay, that's seduction. It used to be against the law to do this, and I wish it was still those days. I'm just so grateful the young man, Fletcher, has so much integrity and strength in his faith to say, "I'm a Christian man." If he was anything else, maybe it wouldn't have worked out, and then he'd be drawn back there with this stupid woman into something he wouldn't be able maybe necessarily to handle, and be left for, emotionally, physically, we believe as Catholics That's a very precious thing. Okay. Your body and your body's integrity. That's not for casual, go out with somebody and that's it. You know what I mean? That's something that can change him for life and make him have very strange ideas about women, make him be unable to be happy with another normal girl his age now that she's, you know, she's just using him. So it's a terrible thing.
No, it is predatory and stuff. And yeah, it's they. Sir Glenn says I get a lot of texts and emails about this nature. They do pray. They do pray a lot of men um, that are kind of like, you know, they're not married. They're not. Um, they're going through something, and it's a pandemic for men, especially young men, but also older men. That all men, it's an attack on them, and people like this, what they're doing is they're doing evil, no matter how you look at it, because what you're doing is this man could lose his job just for a stunt, you know, is this kind of
And yeah,
influences.
and he can lose his soul. Okay, let's be real. You can lose your
That's
soul.
the truth. Yeah.
Okay, you're trying to have him, you're doing something extremely evil. You're taking something for him he could not get back. And I'm telling you guys, loose, cheap marital intimacy with people you're not married with, introducing him to that could lead him to not getting into his best life. Right now, if he's on a trajectory of I'm working, I'm going to school, I'm saving myself for marriage, I'm going to keep my family values, I'm Christian, he's set up to have a happy life, not kids out of wedlock by different mamas he has to pay child support to because he went with this one or that one, causing harm by maybe having women, delete babies who cause a lot of emotional turmoil. He's not causing those problems to society, to himself. She could end that. She could get him tasting the good forbidden fruit. Now he's like, yeah, I got to go every weekend with different women. And now look what you did, and maybe lost his job on top of it. This is horrible. She's horrible. And you know what? I feel sorry for her. If you're listening to this, somebody pray for her. Please, somebody pray for her. Pray for the young man to keep strong, because he won't be the first time the devil will send someone at him. But pray for her. I think this was an encounter with God, because sometimes God is still reaching out to us by having this young man basically witness to her. He's basically testifying. He's saying, I'm a Christian man. She's probably never heard that before and get turned down. Probably never been turned down before. And I love how this man says, the young king turns her down. This is the way. It is gross. And I feel that this woman feels she can't come back from this. Like you said, Fletcher, she's been with a lot of guys. She has made a merchant, situation with this, but she gets paid for this kind of thing. It makes it public. But even she is not too far from redemption. You can change. You can ask God to help you, and it can change. You've got to make that decision. I hope she does, because what's waiting for her when she leaves this earth will not be pleasant if she does not. That's for sure. I believe that. And what she's doing right now is causing a lot of heartache to herself as well. Can you imagine how empty her life is if she has to do something like this?
I know. It's like, come on, the money's not worth it. This Glenn said, men are always being chastised for hitting a barista, but this chick thinks it's okay for her.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true. We should be fair about this. If a man did this, we would say it was exploitative and it's creepy. Let's call it out when women do it too. One of the things that drives me crazy, Fletcher, is when you see these young female teachers in elementary schools literally having inappropriate relations with their underage male students, and people in the comments, guys mostly, saying like, hey, I would have been happy if she liked me when I was a kid. No, you wouldn't have.
Right. No, you wouldn't.
Your parents sent you to school to learn, not get emotionally involved with some wreck of an older woman who can't manage her own emotional, frailties, and get a man her own age and have a real relationship who's going to exploit a child. I don't care. They say, oh, well, it's consensual. It's not. He's 12. He might be physically consenting because his hormones are what they are, but his mind can't consent to that. He's not there. In fact, we've talked about this before, Fletcher. That's why the Supreme Court says you can't execute people younger than 21, because the studies show that your mind is not fully formed until that time. So that's why I'm saying this 40-something-year-old woman, 30-something-year-old woman, you know, going to this kid, even if he's 18, it's not fair. The same way we tell men it's not acceptable behavior. Why is it okay for women? Oh, cougar. No, it's not attractive.
No.
And I want to thank, looks like Viceroy Kirby came by.
Yeah, it says Viceroy Kirby says driving but want to leave a like, a comment, and share out the stream. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
yeah,
so much.
If all of you who are listening, if you could make sure you like the stream, you leave a comment, especially when the stream is over.
It helps
If
us
you could
out.
leave a comment, it does help out
Appreciate
with.
it.
Are we gonna do that whole thing? Is like it helps out that with the algorithm.
Well, it does help
You
us out.
expanding my channel.
It helps our algorithms.
It helps the algorithms.
We said we
Yeah.
wouldn't be those kind of YouTubers. We actually make jokes about it. Like, oh my gosh, everyone is like, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.
Like, share,
it really helps their algorithms.
Yeah,
No,
it really
YouTube's
helps
messing with their algorithms.
Okay,
Okay, but listen, it is true. And we really thank you, Viceroy Selby, for coming by. He is also nobility. Like we said, if you join us, you will be given a title. And that is the truth. So thank you for bringing that story up, Fletcher. It really makes me mad because it really does. It makes me so angry because it's like, go ahead and have your demons. You want to have demons? It's your choice. Why are you going to bring them to a young person? You know, why are you going to go bring your demons to a young person? Let them be.
I guarantee you there's tons of guys out there who have no problem, putting their soul in jeopardy for this, but you're going to, somebody that's got their whole life ahead of them, a young person that is working just for your entertainment, for
kicks and giggles. Yeah. I mean, she could have, why didn't she go to an old age home? Go to an old age home. Go to a place. Yeah, it's the same reason we said, why is it drag queen story hour? They only want to deal with little tiny children in school and libraries and the bookstores. You never want to go to old age homes. We don't worry about those old people being corrupted. You want to go there and read stories? No, you never want to do that because you want to corrupt the youth. You want to corrupt the young. You want innocent blood to drink off of. Okay, that's why she went to a young man who couldn't afford, right? This poor young man. It's so disgusting. It's like, oh, he's working at a he's nobody. I want to see you go to a Fortune 500 company with your camera and stand there and tell the CEO that, because he's going to toss your butt, right? Or he will do it, but then you're the one exploited, not him. You want to just use your power. It's disgusting. You didn't go to an old man. Go some old guy might be like, I want to get lucky. You didn't go to a bar with some beer bully, 50-year-old man, 60-year-old man. No. You want a young, pure kid. They say, I've heard this before, Fletcher. They say that people who are predators or the PDF filers, the spiritual man, I don't know if he was a priest or a deacon or what. He said, you know what? It's not the spirit of lust that primarily motivates them. Did you know that? He said it's not primarily the spirit of lust at all. It's the spirit of envy. They want they're envious. They want the purity. They want to take it from them. They're envy because they don't have it anymore. This woman no longer has any purity or innocence. She lost it. She gave it up.
Look at the gift of being a virgin, the gift of saying, I'm going to give to you what nobody else can have. And it's so beautiful. And she's preying on that. She's
going to take it because she doesn't have it to give anymore. And instead of getting right with God, who can restore all things, he is God. There's nothing impossible for him. She's going to try to do it through her own demonic measures by going to take it from others. And that's what they do. That's why they have to continually take it from others. I love Sir Glenn's take here.
I'm old, but I'd rather not have her at my house. Lighter got cooties and who knows what else.
No, you for sure are going to get some cooties, Sir Glenn, if you bring that lady up in your house. You're going to get physical cooties and you're going to get some spiritual cooties. Because let me tell you, you go out there having sex with a lot of random people, you're going to catch some demons. I mean, okay, listen to the people who are exorcists tell you this. They say that the sexual impurity will catch you a demon. Okay. And it's hard to get rid of them. We're not trying to sound like crazy out here. Read the Bible. Read the Bible and read about this stuff. Okay.
Speaking
Read the Bible.
Of cooties, we have not like the young men. We do have a kind of like an issue in our academia, should we say, right? This is from Town Hall and John Stossel, who's a great actually an actual reporter, somebody who's actually not afraid to go against the grain or what people are pushing. And he's saying that college went mad. They charge students big bucks and then make them feel guilty. New video looks at my documentary called The Cuddling of American Mind. It's persuasive to suggest that today young people are anxious and depressed because adults at their schools brainwash. This is more of adults preying on children.
Preach, Fletcher.
Coming on. And this is, the people are getting into debt for this, right?
Yeah.
And that the schools are brainwashing them. So I guess, so he's saying the students like Lucy Cross Wallace at Stanford. I was anxious, she says. I feel guilty constantly. I couldn't stop thinking about the white privilege thing. Kimi Katini attended the Art Institute of California and now says, I feel like I lost my life for 6 years. I was full of self-confidence when I was 18, but in college, then disintegrated. So these kids are going to college, and instead of getting, should we say, education, feeling like they can take over the world, they're feeling like now they're just being preached to this kind of level of brainwashing them. So he goes on. Kimmy, who's black, was taught that she's a victim of microaggressions from white people who say things like, you're so articulate, or can I touch your hair? I've been victim of, can I touch your hair?
So have I.
And so have you. And yes, it's a little bit annoying. I don't know if I'm going to say that. My parents never said, oh my gosh, somebody said that to you. Forget it. It's the end of the world. I began to see myself through the lens of black in a woman, says Kimmy. If I see someone with their dog, for example, and the dog's barking, I could interpret that as a racist microaggression. This new perspective began shaping every part of her life. To compete with the best grade, she says, I showed how much a victim I was in order to impress my professors. She didn't think that was right, but she didn't push back. I thought I'm paying a lot, so they must be teaching me golden rules of life. She learned that it was important to censor speech by conservatives. Kimmy joined Twitter mob, demanding the Twitter block Ben Shapiro's post. I would sit down all the way through the night looking for tweets to report. When Twitter didn't block Shapiro, then she'd try again. At Stanford, Lucy was taught that Shapiro's idea is to put black, brown, and trans, queer, Muslim students at risk. My first thought was like, this extreme ridiculous, but then she thought, you're privileged, you're white. A good person, she was taught. I didn't read too many books by white authors or listen to the wrong kind of music. I was really torn up on rap because I didn't know if it was appropriation or appreciation.
Oh my goodness.
To be accepted, she changed the way she spoke. Used the vocabulary marginalized, intersectional, hegemonic, blah, blah, blah. People just smiled a little bit more and started feeling like I was part of an in-group.
Okay, I'm going to have to break that down because people are going to think, what the heck is that? So I kind of know some of this vocabulary. So when they say marginalized, what they mean is that people, typically people of color, although I think it could be other people as well, disabled, LGBT, and the rest, are at the margins of society, meaning they're on the side. So they're put off and ignored. So that's the marginalized part. Intersectional, that has to do with the fact that, actually, is a very important author that I read back in the 90s, Kimberly Crenshaw. She's a professor. She said basically, and if you watch this movie, a TV show, Billions, they also talk about it because it comes up at some point. But basically, it's when someone has more than one identifier that's at the margin. So let's say you're Black and a woman, or you are Hispanic and gay. Okay, it's intersectional because it's not just one part of you that's being oppressed. You have, you might be strong because you're a man and treated certain ways as a man, but then you're also Hispanic, but then you're also gay. So that's intersectional, means that there's more than one way that you are treated or get to be in the world, that there's more, that they intersect those different identities.
Okay.
Hegemonic, that one's harder to talk about, but basically it means that hegemony,
Tell me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Okay, Fletcher. Basically, hegemony means a structure of power. It means that it's a really strong power authority. That's a hegemony. Like it's, but usually with the sense that it's illegitimate. Okay, it's somebody that is it's a power play. It's a power structure that's like uber power, like above all. So something that's hegemonic is something that's very oppressive because it's using its power in a way to basically destroy those who are weaker, in a sense. That's how I would say that. So this is me. I could have a show. Let me explain all the woke the vocabulary to you. Now, listen, I read some of this stuff, so I'm familiar with some of it. Sir Glenn says RuPaul is the most oppressed person on the planet by that metric. Yes, he is. In fact, he is.
Well, actually,
but he has to be disabled too. Then he would have the.
He would have to be disabled, not rich. Not rich.
Well, they don't really make too much with the rich, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they don't really make too much with the rich. And my understanding that he's right now he's probably passe because he's not trans. He's just like old school. My understanding is that he's old school drag, right?
Yeah, it's old school.
Like drag with like Paris is Burning drag, like guys that just dress up as women, but then because I've seen him without makeup, he's a very handsome man, and he does magic with makeup because that's incredible. But that's then he goes back. It's not like he's like that all the time. I mean, I'm not the expert on this one. I apologize, Sir Glenn. Yeah,
but what you're saying with this article, which is really great, and I do appreciate Lady Jen saying she loves John Stossel, and the fear mongering is out of control, is that we are, and it's a perfect dovetail, Fletcher, from the last story, because with the young man being propositioned by that old hag. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call you that, girlfriend, until you change your ways. Is that we have violated our children. We send them to college and then have them be fear-mongered about the world, have them become incapacitated with these absurdly infinitesimal concerns, like whether or not you're listening to the wrong kind of music, and whether or not it's a microaggression because somebody's dog is barking at you, and getting hyped up because someone wants to touch your hair. Well, you're different than they are. I mean, that's the thing. You're still a minority. So yeah, you have different kind of hair than they're used to seeing. And some people just don't have good manners. That's a lot of people today. That's another story we could do, Fletcher, is the lack of etiquette. So good common sense will tell you, please don't touch somebody's hair that's not a child in your family. But that doesn't mean it's racist. I mean, it happened to me in college too. It's like, oh my gosh, I was asked questions like, does your hair get wet? Does my hair get wet? What are you talking about? This is an intelligent person. She got into college. In fact, she ended up graduating summa cum laude. And she asked me if my hair got wet. Well, I'm a human being. I mean, of course my hair gets wet. Do you tan? And she made a joke when I said, oh, I'm getting too dark in the sun. It's like, you tan? Well, I have
Well,
skin. Anything that has skin in the place of something as big and bold as the sun will get, I don't know, darker. Like why? It might be more subtle for you to see because I'm not white, but that obviously you should be able to see it. It's a difference in color. Like everybody gets darker in the sun, and yes, anything that's made wet. Even your dog, you throw him in the water, he's going to get wet. What kind of question is that? Even a porcupine who doesn't have hair or fur, you put him in water, he's going to be wet. But that's just ignorance, you see. That's just stupidity, ignorance. This is a smart person on the books, but common sense. But see, those are also a sign of not having been really well home trained. Because you should know some questions are a little bit stupid. Like maybe go on Google and ask them, do Black people hair get wet? Do Hispanic people's hair get wet? Do they tan? And it can answer that. But you know what? It's not racist. I love her, actually. She's a wonderful roommate. I voluntarily remained her roommate almost all through college. So it's not a racist microaggression. It's just somebody who doesn't know. Okay. So in the old days, Blacks, Hispanics used to know, well, we have to do a little bit of education. We have to explain ourselves a little bit. It's not always something to get upset about and then go, file a complaint or call it a racist. It's more, they don't know and they don't have good etiquette. That's all.
Right. And it's almost like, we deal with like stuff as people don't know, like people of color are Catholic, and then they have all kinds of misconceptions about being Catholics. Like we're like secret societies or something like that. I mean, it's funny, but
we're incapacitating kids. They're spending time learning stuff. Like she said, she didn't listen to read books by white people. That's crazy. White authors have a lot to offer. In fact, why don't we read all the good authors? Let's not look at their race. Let's look at all the authors that have brought anything to the table. How about that? But instead, you have people in these colleges not teaching Shakespeare. That's insane. He's one of the best writers to have ever lived, if not the best. The Bible is really important, you all. It has a lot of stuff that actually led to all kinds of other literary innovations. So you should know that. Milton, Shakespeare, all these people, and even Black authors, Latino authors have borrowed from the Bible and Shakespeare. Let's read that. Let's read all kinds of authors. But the idea that this idea of privilege, and now people are looking navel gazing, wondering, I wonder if I'm privileged because I'm white. That's so crazy. First of all, white privilege is kind of a misnomer. I wish people would focus on what really matters, which is wealth. Wealthy people are privileged. That's a fact. Okay. Wealthy people are privileged. Whether you are Black, white, orange striped, you are privileged. That's fact. But and if you earned it, great. Good for you. You earned that privilege. If you inherited it, please be responsible about it. Please try to be understanding that you didn't get there on your own. That's Black people too. If you are the daughter or son of Cosby, who was at one point one of the richest, entertainers, you're privileged. I'm sorry, that's Black privilege. You're privileged. But there's white people who are poor, who live in Appalachia. You're saying they're privileged? I mean, in a sense, you could say, well, they're not targeted in the same way like they're driving. Yeah, but they have other ways they're targeted, right? Everybody has problems. So that whole concept is very strange.
Well, trust me, if a hillbilly is driving in New York or LA, he will be targeted. So it goes on to say, Greg, I'm not going to butcher the last name, co-author of the book, The Coddling of the American Mind, says administrators teach students that they can be permanently harmed by words. Listen to that, because I guess words can break your bones. This is not a kind of compassionate thing to teach. The new censorship was supposed to help minorities, but minorities too are often punished. In the documentary, Seed Malani, a Nigerian student, talks about making a speech at a protest. I got up there feeling all cool with myself. I was like, Blackness is not a skin color, it's an attitude to life. If you're white, you can be Black. If you're Black, you can be purple or whatever. What happened after that? A lot of people thought I was tight, would just stop talking to me. I mean, that's insane.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The thing about, we talked about this before on the channel. The left is very totalizing. They're totalitarian. You can't break from them at any point. Remember the Asian woman we were saying the week before last, who
Yes.
left the Democrat Party because she thought Kamala Harris did a terrible job. And that was too much for people, that you can't criticize her. It's like, wait a minute, why can't I criticize her? I gave money to her. I'm one of the donors. I can criticize her. No, you can't criticize her. But dissent, conversation, having difference of opinion, that's part of a healthy society. It's part of a healthy family. That makes sense. But you see, you can't brook any dissent with these people. So he went up there and said, look, I think blackness is not a skin color. Blackness is a state of mind. That was outside of the majority opinion. And like the mob that they are, they exiled him. They stopped talking to him because they have, for them, it's a religion, because they don't have any more going to church. So these political things become their religion, like the people who believe the weather's going to kill us, and the people who believe in deleting the unborn. These are all like religious kind of things, because we are meant to worship God. And if you don't worship God, you're going to worship something else. You will. And that's going to be sports, or, your latest, hobby, your political ideology, whatever it is going to have that role that God would have. So I love that it says here, when I was a social justice advocate, I was tired, miserable, pessimistic. Yeah, because that social justice warrior God is a very cruel God. It doesn't let you have any peace. There's no rest in that. You're going to always be mad.
No, it's just insane. Yeah, you have things that are harming students because instead of dialoguing, instead of saying my ideas are so revolutionary, just by putting them out there, right? It should take over, correct?
Right.
So, but you're saying no. I'm going to tell that the other idea is wrong. Don't even dialogue with the person. But that's like, well, then you don't even believe in your idea. And I mean, it's like, if that's the case, there wouldn't be street preachers out there preaching the gospel all the time, because we're not afraid to debate or pray for somebody or show kindness or be out in the world. This is the light of the world. The problem is that they're putting it, how the gospel says, you put, light cannot be hid. It can't be put under a bushel. And they're saying my light, which is their belief in this system of racism and all this kind of stuff, my light is so dim that I have to, hide your light. Right?
Exactly.
So how much of a light could it actually be?
I think we should do a show on college and also etiquette. I like what Sir Glenn says. He told someone that he had all his teeth pulled and decided not to wear dentures. They asked me how I went about brushing my teeth. Some people's kids. It's like, we do need to talk about the lack of common sense among the young, and the fact that they don't know basic etiquette. They don't have basic etiquette.
Etiquette. Right.
I think that would do better in college to teach them than all the stuff they have to learn about microaggressions and white privilege. Teach them how to work hard, how to have some self-reliance, and to actually be polite. Because that's what I noticed. They don't seem to have basic etiquette anymore. So that's why they have constant friction, because they don't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah, it's funny because people all the time tell me, like, if I'm military, because I use ma'am and sir a lot. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. I mean, just that's literally what you have to do, right? I mean, you're that's what your mom and your elder brothers and sisters taught you, is how to behave in public. And when you don't know somebody, they're sir and ma'am.
Exactly. That's
just basic. But a lot of things have been going nuts. So this is a tragic story. So a knife-wielding transgender woman accused of killing NYC postal worker smiles, rolls her eyes in a creepy video. Now, this is a post. This is more of the stuff that's going on in New York, which is sad because New York, it's such an amazing city. And and to be able to, to kind of like degrade to this manner, it's sad. So I guess creepy video exposes the full face of knife wielding maniac who vicious stabbed a postal worker Ray Hodges' death in Harlem, Delhi this week. Troubled woman, I guess, is it troubled woman? Jai Cruz is seen close, rolling her eyes and smiling seductive.
Troubled individual, that's for sure.
Troubled. Let's go with troubled individual. Well, a song blasting a bunch of lyrics. I'm sure I'm such a, W word, but I'm not a hoe in the background. So
I called this from the very beginning that is a man, baby.
Yeah, because it's funny because you were saying that. So
I called that from day one when this came out. When they first came out and they said a woman stabbed a man in line up in Harlem over a sandwich, basically. There was a line and there was some kind of dispute about who was next or whatever. And this woman, quote unquote, spit in his face and then stabbed him, fatally stabbed him. May he rest in peace. There he is there, Mr. Ray Hodges, who was a father of two, who was working. In fact, he was on duty at the time. He was just on his lunch break. Yeah, he works for the post office. He was on his break. And, it was like, okay. They said a woman, then they showed the picture. I'm like, look at that jawline, though. Look at that jawline, though. And then it came out, transgender woman. Can we even say that?
Yeah, it's hard to keep track with all these things.
A transformer. Yeah, so a transformer, killed this man who's already out of jail on many, many crimes. This person had already, had knife altercations with people, got released, had done like a robbery or burglary, got released. So it's like you can't do enough to get yourself locked up if you are of a special class and in New York City. I mean, I think this is all that restorative justice. They want to say, we don't want to just keep people in jail, just try to help them, get better. But in theory, it's so nice. In practice, you get this. Because if this person was in jail on any of those other crimes for an appropriate amount of time, this person would not have been there to stab this nice man, who everyone said was really a nice man.
No, it's a shame. It's a shame that we have
And
stuff
you wonder
like
what
that.
kind of hormones is this creature on?
Yeah, that's kind of like the thing, because this is the drug company. It's not just her, but
him. We're not going to call them hers. I'm sorry.
It's so confusing.
I'm not going to call that creature her right now. I'm done with this. I'm done with this fight. You cannot change what God made you. You're always going to be XY. You can change the outward appearance. You can be a transvestite. You cannot change what you are. I'm sorry, I'm done with these people.
We do like getting some of the comment sections on it, and I think it's not to bite on Brett Cooper, but I think having stuff about the comment section is a great idea. This gentleman says troubled, not an adjective that would have come to mind. Evil, violent, heartless, the list goes on and on, but trouble does not make the cut. Wow. And there is an attack on this, because this says trouble is what comes before all that. Is there still an after? There's still a path for a redemption if the taxpayers willing to foot the bill, but the Republicans don't believe in mental health, not that the other side is any better. And other people said it's not mental health, this is criminal behavior which occurs because it is allowed. And in one sense, so I guess that's a big thing to unpack, because we're talking about obviously it's a man who claims is a woman, right? This is not the typical, like we were saying RuPaul earlier. This is not old school drag. This is not, for entertainment purposes. This is somebody who it's not doing this because anything happened that we know of for the investigation. It's just unhinged. It's a
Mm-hmm.
person who was basically, this is what I'm going to do today, and a father of two is now gone because of it. I can't imagine the children thinking of what is this, and then obviously those children are now going to school. They're going to tell them his dad probably is at fault for something like this, right? But it comes in on the lines that we hear a lot about this a lot. You're not a Republican, I am. But this whole, like, Republicans don't believe in mental health, and people are saying bring back the mental institutions, and I think that whole thing went awry. I think mostly because they were getting abused, and a lot of people were, there was a lot of scams going on also around that. But I do believe that we do have to have some kind of, because a lot of the people that are homeless or are in prison are because of of a mental issue. uh,
Mm-hmm.
and what people are not talking about is they're exasperated by these hormones things and these drug companies that don't take any. They're almost like they're immune or something, right? I mean, we can't get too crazy about this, because anytime we talk about big pharma,
Yeah, I better be careful. Don't even say that.
whole thing is the Rumble exclusive. I wanted to say that. So, but yeah, it just seems that this conversation, it's a little bit into that part. But uh it's
I mean,
it
I think, it's something that if we're honest, a lot of these individuals who feel that they are in the wrong body, trapped, already have mental illness. It was always considered to have a mental illness to have such feelings. And then rather than maybe dealing with it, we have said, embrace that. You're right. You are in the wrong body. And let's get you on some life altering surgery and medication stat, and encourage you to embrace that, as opposed to maybe in the old days where we'd say, let's talk about that, let's try to get you to feel differently, or manage such feelings. But now we say embrace them, and you're right, there's no consequences to it's lucrative, obviously, right? I mean, it's something that somebody's making money off of.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we were saying before, in the sense of, is it a gaslighting? It's just the way that the structure of language is changing, because you have here a person also saying with the whole um, personality disorder, referring to them like they or something like that. When it's obviously that the man it's a man, baby, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's no more woman that he's a Buick. That we should push back on this, because actually I was confused. I'm like, I don't even understand what's going on. And it was funny because I think
They
when
want to
you,
have us confused like this. That's what they
yeah, they
want.
want to have us confused like
That's
that,
what
because
they
what is
think.
that? What the heck is a
Exactly.
transgender woman? Why
Because
are they
they
using
say,
that language?
why do they use this language? What is as though there is a new class of person that is somehow biologically identifiable. This is a quote transformer person, a transformed I mean, it's like, wait, that's so confusing. And they want us confused. They want us to start adopting this language. They want to force it. You used the word earlier, Fletcher, organic. None of this is organic. All of this is forced from the top down. It's all like, we're going to make you see it our way. You will start to call these people, when we've always just called them men who like to dress up as women.
It's just
And
it's
you have a right, do that. I mean, maybe right's not the right word, but you know what? You have the liberty to do that. Go and do that if you wish, but don't try to push this on children. Don't make me have to call you something that I know you're not. But see, you give a little bit to them, they're going to keep taking.
yeah, it's just kind of crazy. We do want to say goodbye to friend David Glenn. Got to visit my aunt. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with David Glenn, and have fun with your aunt. This will be great. Um, and Lady Jen said 3-point turns are next queen. Oh,
Yes.
I think referring to RuPaul. Yes.
Well, yeah, and I think you know what the issue with those shows, they're for adults. They're not my cup of tea. At least not anymore. As a younger person, I found them entertaining. Now I just see the dark side of them, and I don't know if it's really holy for us to watch. But there is no reason to, outlaw them. The problem is they can't be in front of children. Okay, they shouldn't be able to be around the little ones that are impressionable, and where it does seem to verge into grooming. And we shouldn't be forced as society to say, yeah, you get to use the same restroom with me, a lady, a woman. That's not cool. But, if I had my own town, yeah, no, I would, the Bible says it's not good for men to impersonate women. There's actually scripture, I think in Leviticus, that says that. But, it's not a theocracy. We understand you have to have some diversity in the society, but we don't have to have stuff, be pushed on us either.
Yeah, and it seems like it's pushed, but it's just I don't know. This whole thing kind of like blew up, and I don't know if social media is helping it or not, but
exactly
this whole thing is kind of like, there's now laws in place, there's things in place, and so many change from one area to the other. I saw that this was this news story coming out of the Gateway Pundit, transgender activist brags about exploiting loophole to change gender on Florida license. State sends letter thanking him for exposing the area before reverting to change. Now, this is one of those, like, what is that list with the, you mess around and you found out? And I'm trying to get a clip of that. I just got to make it a little bit more Catholic, I guess. But this gentleman, I guess because Florida has a law, right, that you have to put your birth gender. These things are weird because they're minefields. But your birth now is what you were assigned at birth. You have to have it on like documents, right? So I guess what happened here. So I guess this person in a self-congratulatory TikTok post, which so many of these people in their cars, and it's like, don't you get pulled over in your car? They're doing this car videos, and I'm just like, I didn't even look. But besides that, so this person is an activist. James Rose recently boasted about exploiting a loophole that changed the sex listed on his Florida driver's license to female, despite state legislation that explicitly prohibits such alterations. So I guess the celebratory moment, however, was short-lived as Florida's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles swiftly corrected the error and issued a replacement license identifying Rose as male. So in January 2024, the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles implemented a policy prohibiting transgender residents from updating their gender marker on their driver's license to reflect their gender identity. On December 20, 2024, James Rose, a biological male who identifies as a female, claiming to have successfully bypassed Florida's strict regulations, the activist gleefully announced that his driver's license now displayed female as a sex marker. And a TikTok caption, "Big win for the dolls, big loss for Rhonda." I don't know what that means.
Because he calls Ron DeSantis Rhonda.
Well, I guess let's look at
I just got my gender changed on my driver's license in the free fucking state of Florida.
Well,
my God, Ron DeSantis would be.
Sorry for the pornography. Yes.
Screaming right now if you knew about this. This little license now says female on it. It doesn't. Oh.
I can't show you because then you would know way too much about me, but it says female.
At least he has that sense, right? But not enough to not do this, right?
The last step in changing all of my documents. This was not easy. You're not even supposed to be able to do this in this state. Here's the.
And why would you telegraph that? Right? It's like, if you're going to be a criminal, be a good criminal. Huh?
Right.
Loophole. Here's the loophole. Listen up. If you're replacing your driver's license, not renewing it, but replacing it because you lost it, they.
So you're saying that you didn't lose it, right? You're saying that you did it on purpose.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure with that one.
Have to take all of your information from what they consider a primary document. A passport is considered a primary document, and you can self-identify on your passport.
And that's something I believe Biden did, correct?
Yeah.
And now you can self-identify, because we don't need accurate passport keepings, because, you know.
Why should we be accurate in our passport keeping? Exactly.
What could go wrong?
So, yeah. Right.
Which means, loophole, you can self-identify on your Florida fucking driver's license. So my passport says female, and I showed it to them, and they made a bunch of copies, and they had a whole fucking team meeting in the back. I shit you not. There were 8 people that were like looking at it, looking at me, looking back, and I swear I was like, I just felt like I was gonna cry. It's so
yeah, because they're looking at you because, you know.
You don't even make any effort to look female. This guy looks like a guy. At least try.
No.
I mean, seriously, at least
to be in a hostile state. Like, if you live in a hostile state,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking.
But you can say this: the nails are on fleek. Is that what it is?
No.
About.
I'm sorry. Look at that big forehead. Those
I don't know
broad
how possible
shoulders.
it is to do this in every other red.
Right.
I mean, he looks like there's no. I mean, at least with some of the really good ones, they look like you would not notice. You would not know. This one doesn't even put any effort in. All you did was put on a turtleneck, some lipstick, you know, and have long hair. You are a guy. It's obvious. And, you know, you are bragging about violating the law.
That's the smart part, right?
State. I don't know the loopholes everywhere else as well as I know them here. Then on the way out of the DMV, a guy rolled down the window of his Ford F-250 and yelled, "Nice dick" at me. So, you know, good things don't last forever, but that license is going to last 10 years.
Obviously, it's not going to last 10 years because after the video gained traction, the incident caught the attention of Florida officials. Imagine you put something online. Should we go back to that thing that we're talking about, people going to college and being taught, you know, things like this? So I guess they issue a letter invalidating the altered license and reinstating the original designation to male. The letter clarified that Florida law requires driver's license to reflect the individual's biological sex as determined by innate and immutable meaning biological genetic characteristic, not gender identity. The letter further stated that Rose's public comments had been instrumental to bringing the error. Oh, that's just trolling at this point. That's just trolling at this point. The letter further stated that Rose's public comments have been instrumental to bringing the error to the department's attention. To ensure much mistakes do not occur in the future, they announced a plan to audit similar cases and issue reminders to local offices about statutory requirements. In addition to correcting this license, the letter hinted that at a potential legal consequences. Under Florida, knowingly providing false information in a driver's license application constitutes fraud, a punishable offense that could result in license suspension or revocation. The letter alluded that Rose's possible misrepresentation about losing their original license to initiate the replacement process. Like I was saying, it's like
very good job, Florida.
I mean, this is just crazy.
That is not cool.
You're basically
you have the right to live in another state. Why are you in your own state trying to subvert its laws? It's not like you can't go somewhere else where they are more friendly and will maybe do what you want. Why do you want to stay in Florida, benefiting from all the benefits of being in Florida, a state that's well managed, not like what we saw with California, but you don't want to follow their laws?
Yeah, I don't.
It's so entitled. It's like you can just go to the next state where they're fine. They'll let you put what you want on your driver's license. I'm sure there's states that do that already. But no, it's not enough for you. You want to be in Florida and lie and say you lost your license instead of just, following their rules. You can go somewhere else. It's insane that Biden's administration thought it was okay, for people to self-identify on passports. What if now this complicates law enforcement efforts to find people because it's confusing as to what their gender is?
Yeah, who are they looking for?
Is this who are you looking for? I'm looking for a 6'4" a woman. Okay. Wait, no, it's a male who is turned into a woman. I mean, that's just complicated. I think Florida has it right. Just change it to, everybody sticks to their immutable characteristics. You don't have to show your license to everybody, but people need to know if you get hurt and an ambulance arrives on the scene and you're unconscious, and I look in your wallet to see, what am I dealing with here? Or I look at you, look like a female. Maybe, believe it or not, there are certain things that men and women are different about in terms of their ability to handle, certain kinds of medication or the amounts. Maybe they're going to take the time to do a pregnancy test because they don't want to hurt your unborn child, and they're going to waste this time because you look female to them. And then you on your driver's license it says, oh, female.
Right.
It's like, why don't we just keep things simple? You can dress however you want, but we all need to know, what your basic gender is for official purposes, such as, passports, licenses. Is that asking too much?
I think it is.
And for being drafted, because at this point we still don't draft women. So we just need to know, we need to be able to draft you because you are literally a male.
Yeah. And things that still kind of don't make sense, but are still out there. Trump asked SCOTUS to block sentencing in hush money case. So I guess this is recently, as told by Town Hall, President-elect Trump asked the Supreme Court on Wednesday to block Friday's sentencings in the hush money case. That the move comes after New York courts would not postpone sentences by Judge Merchant. Now, disclosure on this, I do have family members, as a stereotypical thing, that are involved in the criminal justice system, I guess you could say, or maybe both sides of the fence on that one. But a little bit of the issue here is that it's super easy to move a sentencing hearing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that he's, about to take on one of the biggest jobs in the world. He might not have the time to prepare for something like that. And, what's the purpose? Why are you insisting that it go forward before the inauguration, except that you want to make a point of him being a convicted felon before he takes office? That's just petty, vindictive stuff that doesn't benefit the country. What is that about? Why are we doing that?
What is that? Yeah, what is that going to do? I mean, you're not going to put him in jail. They have, some people still believe that he's going to be running the country from jail.
Yeah, it's so silly. It's not going to happen. That'd be a threat to national security. That's not going to happen. So what this is grandstanding, and it shouldn't be allowed. And I'm embarrassed for this judge. I mean, you should be trying to be fair, and just insisting that he has to go forward to be sentenced when he's the president-elect is like, you lost. Get over it. Just get over it. And I would say that whether it was Kamala who was facing charges and she lost, I wouldn't be insisting that she go forward with being sentenced in some BS case. Just let her go do what she has to do. Why are you trying to hold on to some kind of power?
It is petty, and it's one of those things where we're kind of going, what's really going on here? What's really pushing this? So I guess President Trump is currently engaged in the most crucial and sensitive task of preparing to assume executive power in less than 2 weeks, all of which are essential to the United States' national security and vital interests. Trump's attorneys wrote in the filing, I guess this was from the filing that they went against us, forcing President Trump to prepare for a criminal sentencing is in a felony case while he's preparing to lead the free world as president of the United States in less than 2 weeks imposes an intolerable, unconstitutional burden on him that undermines this vital national interest. The attorney argued the court should enter an immediate stay to prevent grave injustice to harm to the institution of the presidency and the operation of the federal governments. The effort hinges on Trump's argument that he's entitled to full immunity from persecution and even sentencing now that he's president elect. His lawyers have based the claim on polarizing Supreme Court ruling last year that granted former presidents a broad immunity on the official acts. The Supreme Court directed prosecutors to respond to Mr. Trump's application by Thursday morning, an indication that the justices may act before the scheduled sitting on Friday. Spokeswoman for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which persecuted Trump, declined to comment, saying only that the office will respond in court papers. As far as we know, this hasn't been responded to. So we will see, because tomorrow, I guess tomorrow we'll know, right? We'll know.
I mean, hopefully. I don't know what the over or under is, but I guess I believe that the Supreme Court is going to rule in Trump's favor, but I could be wrong.
Well, we're gonna see, and
let's see if we can do a last minute like video on it if we find out tomorrow.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a video or short on it if we kind of find out what's going on, and maybe at the time of this airing, maybe it's happening right now. We'll do and keep you guys updated on this as this story unfolds. So more on kind of like the stuff that's happening around the inauguration. This is a story from Town Hall saying our leftists planning an insurrection against Donald Trump's inauguration. Now, with all the stuff that is happening, you would think this is something that's kind of crazy, because we are seeing, I mean, if you look at what happened. So first we have the New Orleans horrific attack. Now we also have heard that there were bombs being placed around the area, and that was a high holy day for us Catholics. And I believe the truck was heading to the church downtown that it's in the central part of the New Orleans Square, which I've been many times in that area. And then we saw a very on-the-nose attack with a Cybertruck in Trump Tower in Las Vegas that was full of explosive. Both of those people were from the same fort. They were both military, should we say, or had kind of like a connection to Fort Bragg's, which had another attack back in the days. I forgot what year that was. But then we also had a fire, an explosion in Texas recently. And, we still don't know what started the California infernos, that some are still going on. That's a lot. It's only been 9 days since the start of the year. And we're almost at inauguration. And this is like breakneck speed. Every day they were like, oh, we sending each other stories like, oh, this will be fun to cover, and we're just inundated with news. I mean, before, I guess there used to be kind of like a 24-hour cycle. I think now it's like a 5-minute cycle of interesting news, because it just changes as we go, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot. And so I don't know, maybe this is all coordinated to cause problems for Trump to get into office. This could be. It could be, absolutely. And that could be what people are looking to. One direction are leftists planning a quote insurrection, but in the meantime, it's already happening. It's misdirection, because there could be already, some of these things are adding up to make it difficult. It's kind of annoying, because leftists have been lecturing other people saying, January 6th for all this time. And then now when it's not your guy, you're doing the same thing. So
yeah,
we're planning the same thing. So that's kind of That's
I
kind of
mean, yeah,
hypocritical.
it's just kind of crazy. So basically, to the article says, could leftism plan an insurrection during President-elect Trump inauguration? It's certainly possible. After all the caterwauling about the January 6th riot in the Capitol building, a coalition of left organizations has announced that We Fight Back National Day of Action, set to take place on January 20th as Trump inaugurated. The proposed aim of the demonstration is to defeat Trump's extreme right billionaire agenda. Oh, and this is what's amusing to me, because the Democrats have a huge billionaire agenda as well. I mean, last time I checked, all the major corporations mostly favored. I think, what was it, Googled, which is the largest place that Americans get their news from and search engine from, was like 99%, on one
Right.
side, the Democrat side, but it's like, yeah, but the billionaire jet. Let's be kind here, right? According to his website, the coalition claims that the president-elect ran a con game during the election, and that his attempt is to destroy workers' rights, deport millions of illegal families, and pave the way for a complete corporate capitalist takeover by ending regulations to protect the environment. So this is the checklist, right?
I mean, the fact is, there's never a perfect candidate. Trump is not a perfect candidate in my mind. I know some people might think so. I think that he certainly proved himself above Vice President Harris this time. But, yeah, he's for billionaires. I think, both parties are. It's just why I don't like either side. I think both parties are for billionaires. But the fact is, I don't believe that all of his policies and programs that he's articulated are necessarily harmful to little people, right? So if we can make it work for us, then let him look out for his billionaires too. That's how I see it. I mean, if he
Right.
looks out, I mean, what people claimed they were most worried about this time through, which I agree with, the price of groceries, the price of gas, more freedoms, then if he can deliver that, yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not?
So,
Right.
you know what I mean?
It's not
Like,
bad.
I'm not gonna overthink this. I mean, they're not for us. We know that, right? These are
Right.
politicians. I mean, anyone who still puts their hope in government to save them, I mean, that's a bit naive, I think. No
I
one
agree.
can save you from
No one's gonna say, yeah.
yeah,
That's the
God
main
is the
thing.
only answer here. So, but yeah, we can try to have a more just society, and that's
That's all we can do.
hopefully what he can do. He's not going to do everything, right? And he's certainly
Right.
beholden to different groups. There's no question. Obviously, everyone is. So you don't get to the highest level without having some ties. So he's definitely beholden, but that doesn't mean that hopefully we can't make it work for us. So,
No,
and you know what? People have been praying for the peaceful transfer of power. I know there's a rosary group. It's Father Parker. He's here on these interwebs, and he's been praying. People have said, they've heard about something like this. A lot of people have anxiety. In fact, I don't know if you know, Fletcher, there are some TikTokers and whatever saying that President Trump will not be inaugurated, that Kamala has left codes, that she will be back.
Yeah, I've seen
they're
that.
firmly convinced of this. And I don't know, only God knows the future. All I can say is, you should pray. If you're a person who prays, it would be good to pray for the peaceful transition of power.
Yes.
That's not a bad idea. Just like people were upset about, 1/6, we got to be concerned about this one too. Make sure that, he's got elected. You got to just deal with it, So trying to interrupt him before he comes in there, like some of the Democrats seem to be doing, even Biden to some extent, right, is trying to do things to make it more difficult for when he comes in. All of that is just that's all banana republic stuff. We shouldn't be like that. We're above that.
We should be, but I guess they're trying to stop the rise of the ultra right. It's trying to say and push it across. So it's how, but we did want to touch a little bit on this also because I guess so. Today we do have President Carter. If you guys saw our short on it, his funeral is today, and I guess there was a bit of drama going on during during the funeral. So the state funeral was at Washington National Cathedral, which is a beautiful cathedral. But it did have a few people saying, how to put it nice? So awkward moments, I guess. So this is one that they're talking about. As we can see, I think this is Melania. This is President Trump, and the person sitting down here is President Barack Obama. And this is
from the angle I was at. Obama and Trump sitting next to each other, talking to each other.
So now they're chatting, right? And I think Vice President Harris is in front, sitting in front of them.
But President Obama did say hello to Marilyn Trail and former Vice President.
That's so cute.
That is an image.
It's
I mean,
good.
you don't see it's always striking whenever you see any of these people who were political opponents.
It's funny because a lot of people don't understand this, and it's like, we tell them all the time, or we tell you, don't kind of trust government all in itself, because when the cameras are not rolling, most of the time it's like this, right? Mm-hmm. Even though I think they know that the cameras are rolling here, but at the same time, they scoriate each other, publicly. But then when it's more of like a private setting, when it's more stuff, they all chat among themselves. They got things to run.
They're all friends.
Yeah,
ran against each other.
There's President Bush.
From the angle I was at, Obama and Trump sitting next to each other.
So I guess there was also, this is what they were kind of saying, because it looked like, here we see, I think it's Vice President Pence in the back, and then we see, we did see, I guess this is where President Biden is supposed to sit, but we did see the looks, right? So but you see the look and the no love lost here. There's a clear
she has no poker face. It's hilarious. She gets upset very easily too.
But I can say I want to say that I do like her outfit for this.
Yes, she's
dressed. I think Ms. Bush looks fabulous also, but the grim people were saying that she was giving like snide looks and stuff like that. Just the fact that they're all kind of sitting together and you're like, it's nice. Kind of yeah. You gotta.
Yeah, I bet because she probably feels, she's angry about Trump. She's angry about the election. And then here comes Obama sitting next to him and on top of it talking to him. Like, we cool. That makes her feel a certain kind of way. It's pretty funny, actually. So, yeah, I agree. That does seem like a lot of drama. But you know what? That's to be expected. It's a lot of drama, like you There's Trump shakes hands with Mike Pence. Obama does not shake Trump or Melania's hand, but shakes everyone else's hands. Bush walks right past the Trumps, then slaps Obama in the stomach and shakes hands with everyone else. Obama and Trump having lots of laughs. The Clintons walk in and ignore Bush, Obama, and Trump. What's going on here?
It's just,
there's a lot. It's like a soap opera. That's what's going on.
You know,
here.
when did the country become? Is because that's used to be kind of thing like we would get joked about for our funerals, right? We would always get teased because it's like we've been to some lively funerals, shall we say? And I remember one funeral with me and my brother, and we were like, we didn't know if we were going to have to fisticuffs with the pastor at the time. Because a lot of things, it's like, yeah, it's just some funerals, man. But to see it at the level of the it's I it's I it's kind of unusual, but
yeah, a lot of minority funerals, a fight's gonna break out. I don't know why that's the response. It happened also at like Filipinos friends I have too say that happens at their
Right.
funerals too. People of color can be like, we're gonna have somebody fight at somebody's funeral, but here it's the same thing, only they do it in like cold, underhanded ways. Like what they're doing is, whom they talking to, whom they kill with their eyes, etc. It's very
yeah,
funny.
who they said everybody was saying like, what
President
did they
Obama
say?
there, elected in 2008, served two.
It's like, what were they saying to each other? Everybody was talking about reading lips and stuff like that. It's like all of a sudden everybody wants to read lips on this thing.
Yeah, I wish we could read lips.
Yeah,
I
I guess
started the
that
year
was
as
President Biden arriving on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really sorry for the death of former President James Earl Carter. May he rest in peace. There's a lot of people who've said he's one of the worst presidents ever. He might rank up there. I think this man we're looking at, might rank. There's some who might rank higher now.
Yeah, he I guess he went out with knowing that now maybe that there's a that he doesn't have the title anymore, right?
Yeah, maybe he's not the worst. Maybe not the worst. I think he's been unseated, but he seemed like a decent guy. I mean, I think he was somewhat misguided, both in terms of how he led the country in his politics, but also perhaps in other ways. But I do think his faith was sincere.
I agree. I think I think it
God
comes
has
with
mercy on him.
I'm sorry?
And I pray God has mercy on his soul. I mean, he did lead Sunday school. I mean, but he was for a lot of policies that go against the Christian faith. But nobody's perfect. So hopefully he's the recipient of God's abundant mercies.
Amen. And we pray for his family because he had a family, a big family, and stuff like that, and we don't want to besmirch that or any kind of way. Yes, people have had kind of issues with his presidency, but at the same time, he was a president. That's a service to the nation, and that should be respected. So it.
And he wasn't awful. I mean, he was awful, I guess, in some ways, but he wasn't. He wasn't. We've had worse since him.
Yes.
Actually, I think in a survey they've done with people, they thought I think it might have been a Gallup poll, the worst president people by consensus was Richard Nixon.
Right. Yeah, I heard that.
First. I don't know. I mean, it was before our time, but I definitely think Biden's going to probably win the mantle of this. Honestly, when time comes to tell, I don't think it'll be kind. I don't think he did a great job here. So we'll see.
I agree. I did. There's something here that we did want to touch on. It's a little whimsy. It's a little thing. So, something that's been happening in Argentina. There's a shift, a cultural shift. But there was a cheer on today. This was I think yesterday, and they got a hashtag trending. So this is my buddy Tepito, who is a YouTuber from Argentina. So what this reads is saying that Peronistas, which are fans of Peron, are going crazy with joy because they're going to have a production and they're going to have a black Evita Peron that is going to be portrayed by Ariana DeBose, which is a singer actress. We know her also because I think she was in So You Think You Can Dance, which we were a fan of. So she's going to be portraying Eva Peron in a new production, and they hashtagged, and now it actually trended so much that it became a hashtag all over the world. It's Eva siempre fue negra, which means Eva was always black, and of course they jest with the little with a portrait here of Eva in her favorite kind of African garb, and so this is coming from this story. Ariana DeVos reveals she's in talks to star in Evita at the London Palladium. So party notes from the Golden Globes. They were talking about this. So Ariana DeVos sure has some exciting news shared last night. Fingers crossed, come this summer she will star in the Jamie Lloyd directed revival of Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber musical Evita. At the iconic London Palladium, she told me exclusively the Oscar-winning star confirmed whispers I've been hearing on the grapevine, although she cautioned that she has to clear it first with producers and partners of other projects she's working on. We're 70% there, DeVos told me when she chatted at the Universal Filmed Entertainment Group party in Sunset Boulevard. Universal was celebrating the cinematic box office achievement for the win for the musical Wicked and other things. So the Bulls will play Eva Peron in Evita and the show's signature number, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. So let's not shed too many tears for those that didn't take home hardware at the Golden Globes on Sunday night. Evita will play 12-week limited a season at the Palladium from June 14th through September 6th. Lloyd and the Boys began their conversation after the director's version of Lloyd Webber's Sunset Boulevard started Nicole Schlesinger. I think she's the one for the Pussycat Dolls or whatever. Ran in London, and then Broadway is still playing. Harold Prince staged the original in 1978 production at the Prince Edward Theatre in London, produced by Robert Stingwell in association with Connie David Lang. It was stunning and massive hit for all concerned and launched Ellen Page as West End royalty. I watched from upper circle, yes, the cheap seat, although later I got seat from the stalls. The Bose believes, as I know Lloyd does, that if you're going to do a revival of a property that is well known and well loved, it's paramount to have new vision, a new way in for today's audience.
Yeah, but new doesn't just mean gender swapping and color swapping. I mean, Evita Peron was not a woman of color. I mean, she was obviously Argentinian. She came from, I don't know a whole lot about her, but she did come from a family in which they were kind of like a satellite family of her wealthy dad he was basically cheating on his wife with her mom. And they didn't even know they were the second family until he died, and they found out that he was already married to someone else. So she grew up in a terrible situation like that, kind of scrappy, and then became, one of the most powerful women by marrying, Mr. Peron, and they ran Argentina almost into the ground. She was not she was not black. I mean, she wasn't brown in her coloring. And I guess I can understand the sentiment of she was always black if they mean she always came from an oppressed environment in which she was an outcast and had to fight for everything, I guess. But I don't know how I feel about casting a black actress. And I don't know. It just seems like it's more of the same stuff we keep seeing. It's like this director says he wants to do something new. So is that the way? Like we're just tokens to you. Like just put a black face on it and therefore now it's new? I mean, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, and we do see there's a lot of colorblind casting, should we say. Now it just feels like the colorblind casting is just casting, right? Now it's like where before it was like, okay, it's special. Maybe now it's no longer special, should we say? Or true, I mean, it's a something that now is less than?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems to me that it's not colorblind. It's very much wanting to put people of color in positions to thwart and undermine and kind of make a commentary about, again, like we talked about, so-called white privilege. It's not that you're just blind. It's not like Ariana Bose, no offense to her. Oh, she's just the best actress to play it. It just so happens she has darker skin. If that were the case, I'd buy it, but I don't think it's colorblind. I think they're deliberately picking somebody who's black. I think true colorblind casting, which I don't think really works for film because film is a realistic medium. And you have to kind of have what was realistic. This is a historical figure, and she's of recent enough memory. People might remember what she looks like. If you want to go back in time 4,000, 5,000 years, and pick some person, from some place and make them a different color. Yeah, we don't know what they look like. Sure. I mean, it might take some suspension of disbelief if you pick someone from, I don't know, Iceland and say they were black, but maybe, okay, we'll take it. I mean, it goes back so far, it's almost like mythology. But Eva Peron was around what, the 30s, 40s?
Yeah.
People are going to remember that. Probably your grandparents, if they're still alive, might remember that, or great grandparents. So it's like, it's a recent memory. There was already photography. It's like for theater, it makes sense because, honestly, theater is not a realistic medium. It's not like we're trying to make you really seem like you're watching the real thing. It's just a pageant. It's a show. You know what? Put whomever you want in whatever role. You don't have to be, being very realistic. I mean, you see stage shows where like to represent water, you might have a blue cloth across the floor. That's like, okay, we get it. That's supposed to be water. And they keep walking over the cloth. I mean, that's what theater is, right? I mean, I've done theater. That's what theater is. But it's not, it's really not meant to be realistic. So if you just want to say, look, this actress came in, I'm casting for Evita. She's the best one we got. She can sing the part. Okay, fine. But if you're doing a film, it seems like you just showed her picture, Fletcher. I don't. Now the girl is not that dark. I mean, they could probably lighten her skin a little bit to make her look like the real Eva, who wasn't very fair. I mean, after all, she was Argentinian. They tend to be a little more swarthy, right? I mean, look, she's morena. She's not super super white. Maybe not really morena, but she has dark hair and her skin is not very pale. But I think you could have picked someone closer to her complexion than just a straight up black person, light skinned black even. There are black people her color, the color of Eva Peron. There are black people her color. They could have gone with that. So I feel like they're just making a statement. And it's like more of the same stuff that we are, dealing with that we don't want. I say tell the story differently. If you want to tell the story differently, tell it from her perspective, because oftentimes we're hearing it from the husband's perspective, or tell it from the perspective of, like, say, a maid in their household, what she saw. If you want to do something different, go for it. Really do something different. Be like William Faulkner in Sound and the Fury, telling the story of this, ancient but falling on hard times white Southern family from the view of their black maid, who ends the final part of the book explaining everything you didn't understand along the way. If that's what you're going to do that. Don't just change the color of the actress.
Yeah, and you do have a lot of more of this, and it's you you can say that you're doing it for like color blindness, casting and stuff like that, and it's fine. I guess the production is a well-known production. It's not a new production. Trying to do something new, I guess. At one point, do you say this is just for publicity, or are you just doing it because you couldn't find a lady that looked more like Evita for the role?
It could.
So that's kind of like the thing, right? And so we're going to that one. But we do find that more of these stories obviously are going to get through now because Mark Zuckerberg promises less censorship on Facebook as he scraps third-party fact checkers. Remember those fact checkers, the one that told you that everything that you knew was lies, and then all your conspiracy theories buddies are, actually found out that everything they were saying is the truth. Remember?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting development. We talked about a Trump effect, Trudeau resigning, other people getting in line for different initiatives that he seems to be behind. And this, some people say, is part of the same, that Zuckerberg's auditioning to be, Trump's best buddy because Trump has been emphasizing the freedom of speech. Obviously, what has assisted him in getting back into the White House has been the ability to talk freely to the people through, social media platforms like X. And, Facebook has been one that's been very, very slow to let people talk. They have these, so-called fact checkers who really don't check facts. What they're doing is disagreeing with the content and saying, therefore, it's unfactual. So people have caught on to that, find it frustrating. So apparently he's going to stop doing it. I mean, I don't know why he would stop doing it now. You've been doing it all this time.
Yeah, and the press is having a field day with it. So this was, he had like a little bit of a press conference and talking about it, and everything's going nuts, right? So this is headlines for Vanity Fair, The New Republic, The Hill, Slate, The Wire. Wow, looks like Mark Zuckerberg's wardrobe and morals got a little MAGA rebrand. Trump gets new propaganda machine. Mark Zuckerberg's caves on Beta. Dems bash Beta for scrapping fact checks. Genuflecting to Donald Trump. Mark Zuckerberg's fact real announcement is worse than you think. No fact check anymore. Hate speech. Man, it goes MAGA. Zuckerberg is a surrender monkey. I mean, that was my favorite.
That is my favorite now.
Information is contagious. I mean, who writes this? I
like it. That's hilarious.
It just feels like AI,
If only.
Well, if only, right?
It shows that the left is very concerned about being able to police people's speech.
And
it's not enough for them
to
control the narrative, right? To police their speech, which controls the narrative. It's really important to them to police people's speech. They cannot have freedom of speech. Their ideas are not popular. So the only way they can seem to be on a level playing field is to squelch the speech of those they disagree with. Because when people who are of good faith and neutral hear both sides, it sounds like the left sounds like lunatics. So they will pick the other side or other sides of speech, which may be more than one side that's not left. But if the left, can control the narrative and make the world different and, have their facts, then they sound a little bit more reasonable. And so that's why this is the end of the world for them, because it's like, what? You mean people can just get on there and say, I don't know if masks work. It's like, no, they want the narrative to be anyone who opposes the use of masks mandatory are, anti-science and, kind of freaks.
Yes.
But now if you have people coming out and be able to say what they found, then maybe other people who weren't really, sure one way or the other might take their side, and they might have fewer people to be on their side. So I think that's very telling.
So this was him, and a lot of people were joked around a little bit because he's been doing, I guess, jujitsu. He's now in Hawaii and stuff in his compound. He's hanging out with Dana White. So people are saying this is his blackface because he's got his little Jufro going. he's got the gold chain. He's got so he's got a little tan. So this is him getting testosterone. People are saying.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram.
That was the roots. That was your roots. Your roots was free expression on Facebook and Instagram.
Their roots was gossip.
It's just
it's spying.
This is the crazy part, because you're like, we want to get back to our roots of free speech, right? We want to let's get back to those roots. I wonder what are we doing here, right?
I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly.
What do you think about it so far?
I don't know. I mean, he sounds kind of like someone taking over his body, and he's a robot. And he, blink twice, Zuckerberg, if you're okay.
Man, we got no chillers today.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people.
Accidentally censored.
Yeah, like it was never.
That's what it was, right? That's what it was. Yeah.
Never.
And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X.
So this is like becoming more, It's like, we're going to replace them with community notes. Yeah.
Starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Okay. Yeah.
What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action.
Yeah, because it's not a thing. I mean, this is just part of the censorship that I want to show you. This is not on Meta. This is on Pinterest, but this is the kind of stuff that happened. So this is from Sister Mary Joseph, and she's on Pinterest and says, Pinterest just informed me that internal investigation on my pins labeled Christmas revealed the following pin needed to be removed due to adult content. We made this decision using we made this decision using a hybrid method, like Mr. Zuckerberg saying. This means a human determined the content of Pinterest violated policy. An automated system helped expand the decision to enforce against machine identified matching like pins like yours. The pin violates our community guidelines as adult content because it contains graphic depiction of sexual activity. And this is the picture. The print is of Our Lady worshiping the child by Antonio Correggio. This is this is this is this
These
is
people are
this
sick.
is this what you're talking
It
about,
shows how
bro?
sick they are. Very sick.
What is this what he's talking about? That's what I want to
That's
know.
so sick.
Is this the kind of stuff that they're gonna push upon? It's
It's unbelievable. You have an ancient classical painting of the Virgin Mary and the child Jesus, and that got censored as inappropriate content. Come on, something wrong there. What's wrong with their minds?
it's gone nuts. It's gone nuts, and we'll see.
I mean, it'll be interesting if Facebook is a better or worse place as a result of these changes. I mean, I don't know that I would look at them too cynically. I know that people don't like it because they say he went MAGA. I don't think that's what it is. I mean, I know other people say, oh, he's just pandering to Trump. I don't know if that's, I mean, it's definitely a zeitgeist. This guy, he really cares. He really cares about being accepted. So, and he knows the moments. So he's picking up on, it's a business decision, honestly.
No, it's just crazy. I think that that we're reaching a point to where things are not as they seem, right? They're not as they're telling us one thing, but then obviously using it for something else. So the more that we can trust is kind of like iffy, right?
Yeah.
You have things to where oh, sorry, I was trying to bring something up, but it's breaking up. Okay, I can share it now. So this was part of more of that misdirection that we're kind of seeing, that I think where we're talking about, right?
Right. Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I think part of this was based because they were trying to gaslight. I guess reporters were trying to gaslight Trump about this whole January 6th story that they're trying to redo now, because they kept saying that. I think in the interview, Trump was saying, I don't know anybody who died except Ms. Babbitt, right? But now they're trying to say that all these people, law enforcement passed on this, and it's really so. I guess he's using this stroke, suicide, to rewrite the history, and it reads, not a single Capitol officer was killed on January 6, 2021, yet Attorney Merrick Garland dishonest statement about the protest released Monday may have people thinking otherwise. On this day 4 years ago, police officers were brutally assaulted while bravely defending the United States Capitol. They were punched, tackled, tased, and attacked with chemical agents that burned their eyes and skin. Today, I'm thinking of the officers who bear the scars of the day, as well as the loved ones, the 5 officers who lost their lives at the line of duty as a result of what happened to them on January 6, 2021. But not a single officer was killed by any January 6th defendant, which is perhaps why not a single defendant was charged with manslaughter or murder. Officer Brian Sinek died of natural causes on January 7 after suffering 2 strokes, according to Washington, D.C. Chief Medical Examiner. Members of the propaganda press, however, spent weeks telling America that Sinek was beaten to death by a fire extinguisher during the protest. Mr. Zuckerberg, how about fact-checking them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why were they not fact-checked? Let's go, if we're going to go with fact-checkers, why was the mainstream media, and then they wonder why we don't trust them, why were they allowed to tell us that this man was beaten to death by a fire extinguisher? I think passing away of a stroke of natural causes later, not the day of, maybe it's a little different than being beaten to death.
Yeah, you
Do you
think?
think that could be? Do you think that could maybe?
I think it's a little different. Yeah, I mean it's not good. I mean it's really what can you say? Like it's stretching the truth. It's more than that. It's a fabrication. And they're not called by it because we don't even have true journalism anymore. I mean, for him to say that, to have the nerve to critique Trump because he says, no one actually was killed except for that one poor lady who I think was an officer. It's true. I mean, the other ones that he's saying died, I mean, they died in circumstances that were, completely unrelated to the incident. So
yeah, that's where we get like it doesn't make sense. It says
No,
four
it
other
doesn't.
officers died by deletion within months of the protest, including 2 officers who were not present for the actual protest. So I guess Metropolitan Police Officer Kyle the Fragtag was not present for the actual protest, but later helped enforce a curfew in place after the mob of supporters. And then after President Donald Trump entered the Capitol building, according to People's Magazine, Officer Gunter Hashida also died by, deletion after self-deletion, not having not been present for the riot itself, but responding to it. So what are we doing here when we're basically our media is telling us that they just want to make it more sensationalism than it was, right? They want to.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's what that says. Yes,
Is
certainly.
this the censorship?
Well, I mean, definitely they want to do that because they want to. It was really important, it seems, to the left to try to stop Trump by saying that he and his followers, which they, like to think he just has a small set of followers, but in fact, there's a big tent, and we don't all see eye to eye, and we don't all agree. But they want to make it seem, MAGAs, MAGA people. And they are, riotous and violent and extremists. And, that was why January 6th was so important to them. And so you've got to make it bigger. You've got to say people died. All these people died when that's not even true. And, that's falling apart because,
it's just crazy. So I guess because how are you going to equate people who took their own life, which in itself is like, why would they take their own lives unless a lot? You can go conspiracy.
It's not related. It's not related. I mean, I think someone else had a stroke or something too. That's not related. I mean, I guess if you, I don't think so. I mean, there's just not enough of a nexus between these events. They didn't die in the insurrection, quote unquote, the riot or whatever you call it, the protest. Which, the evidence is showing Fletcher really was very much kind of orchestrated, right? That there were actual letter agencies out there fomenting things. That's actually been released. Anybody who wants to check, you can do your research and find out for yourself. It's not what you think. Yeah, it's absolutely not what you think. Certainly some people probably acted the fool a little bit out there, but it's definitely not. It probably was not what people are calling it. It's, quote, insurrection.
I know, and it's funny because Elon Musk was posting the other day kind of like a scene from Titanic, the scene where they kind of like they go up the staircase at the end. It's kind of like a dream sequence type of deal where everybody kind of welcomes them, and each person, it's like like the Capitol Police and all this kind of stuff welcoming the people in because they're tightly going in in a row, through the Corton area. But as President Trump did say that the only person who was actually killed was Ashley Bobbitt, who was fatally shot by Capitol Police, Michael Byrd, and he has never been charged in connection of it because as far as everybody thought, this was nonviolent. And the fact that nothing has happened, we really hope that this turns into some pardons, and hopefully these people that are in jail right now, some of them without any, they really literally they shared a post or they literally walked past or something. I want to know how many of those letter agencies were doing stuff like this.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And I mean, you consider how law enforcement is dealt with in this country. We've seen violent criminals, actually ones who have been in and out, like that person we talked about who killed the postal worker. I mean, in New York, that person has been in and out of jail for violent crimes. But yet somebody who has no criminal history, who went to protest as they saw it, maybe went too far, who knows, left in jail. I mean, left in, with serious things that just seems, it's not proportionate. So I do hope he pardons them too. I actually do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. This I forgot to bring this up. Talk about disproportionate. I forgot about this one. We were talking about Karen Bass, the LA mayor, leaving LA. Supposedly, a old tweet of hers resurfaced, criticizing Ted Cruz when he was out when they had a crisis. Ted Cruz fleeing Texas in the middle of a deadly crisis is part of a larger pattern of the GOP abandoning folks in crisis. We need to build a movement to kick them all out. And this was, I believe, during that Texas ice storm, and but she was using taxpayer money to fly to Africa for a photo op when the city burned, and ouch, right?
Yeah, that totally did not age well, as they
Yeah,
say.
you
That
can
did
tell it's
not.
not totally aging well,
It's not
but
aging well.
yeah,
That is like, wow. Because what's important about that too is at the time, Ted Cruz was not in an official capacity. He was leaving town. It's a bad look, but he wasn't officially in charge of anything at the time for that during that ice storm. But Mayor Bass is like that's your particular jurisdiction. That's your constituency. So the fact that you were over in Africa at the time of things going down in your city is much worse than what happened with him, and yet you excoriated him for it. It's not good. It's like
yeah, it's just crazy.
that is not powerful for her. That's not a good look.
It's not
I
a
don't know
good
what to
look.
say to her. I don't know what to say. She just has to buckle up.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
Another not good look because Chicago Archbishop, the deportation of illegals would be intolerable, he says. So he was speaking, I believe, in Rome. Chicago Cardinal Blaise Cupid was warned of prophetic denunciation by the U.S. bishop if President-elect Trump tries to deport illegal immigrants. In an interview this week with the Argentinian daily La Nación, Cardinal Cupid said that the bishops are going to have to be prophetic and denounce any abuse of human dignity that may occur during the Trump presidency, especially regarding immigrants. We're going to be vigilant and we're going to defend humanity's dignity and immigrants, he stated. Cupid said that he and the bishops' conference have expressed our concern regarding the issue of deportation of undocumented person, something that could deviate families and make many see the newcomers as enemies. So this is also coming as Honduras president warns base closures, mass deportations. She's grandstanding a bit on this. Because the thing that I don't get with part of the thing with Honduras is that she's complaining about, don't send the people back. We know they send a lot of money back to them. That's a large percentage of their GDP is the money coming.
They're living off us. Mexico the same way.
Yeah, they're for off. But it's like, why don't you want your people back? Don't you want to grow your country? I mean, that's my thing.
No, they want to not grow their country and depend on our GDP to support them from people working here illegally.
It's just crazy.
And that Archbishop is come under fire by a lot of traditional Catholics and regular Catholics for being extremely heterodox, not orthodox, for undermining the church's teaching and many of its magisterial truths, including about deletions of children, about, unnatural unions between people. And now he's, asking people to defy the law. The Bible says we're supposed to follow the law. And even though as Catholic Christians, we definitely want to be helpful to people, right? We don't want, if someone is in our midst, we have to take care of them. It does not mean we have to have an open border. And it does not mean that the president doesn't have the authority and that we shouldn't cooperate with him to deport people who should not be here back to their home countries. And as ethically and as compassionately as possible. Okay. Nobody's splitting the family. The whole family can go back.
Right. And that's what they said. I mean, you're breaking the law, but breaking the law, I guess, is not that bad now. I think it would be intolerable, especially in a country where we're all immigrants. I'm a product of immigration, he added. The cardinal had made a name for himself by suggesting moral equivalency among diverse social issues such as immigration, abortion, capital punishment, and joblessness, provoking a sharp response for his brother bishops. In a signed 2015 op-ed on the Chicago Tribune, Cupid listed as social ills that people should find just as loathsome as ripping apart unborn children and selling their organs, and appalling as to speak freely of crushing child's skull to preserve valuable body parts. He wrote, should be no less appalled by indifference towards the thousands of people who die daily to lack of decent medical care, who are denied rights by broken immigration system and by racism, who suffer in hunger, joblessness, and want, who pay the price of violence in gun-saturated neighborhoods, and who are executed by the state in the name of justice. Wow, that's where are the victims in this, right? In a sense,
it's like this is a woke person, and you're wearing the mantle of Christ. You have to be for him, not for all the social justice stuff that's soup du jour. And that's kind of what it seems like. And I think a lot of people are seeing that. And it is, I'm sorry, very disturbing that he's being promoted in this way by this Vatican. It's like they, some people say it's because they want to counteract Trump. So they put him in this position. But you know what? We're not here to counteract Trump. We're here to win souls for Christ. And that seems like very much against it. I think for people who are wondering, the what I was, my understanding is this: if somebody's hungry, thirsty, a stranger, you got to take care of them. But that doesn't mean that you have to have them, violate the law and be in your country. You have to be nice. If someone's hungry, feed them. But then, yes, you can deport them. You absolutely can. If they are not supposed to be here, yeah. It doesn't mean, though, you leave them naked in the streets. You don't beat them. You don't do anything harmful to them. But it's not harmful to that. And there's a difference between legal and illegal. If they're illegal, then that's different than somebody who's legal. Guess what? Somebody who's truly an asylum seeker and not just one of these fakings, that's someone you want to help. Yeah, sure. But all these military-aged men who were here, and many of whom are committing crimes, are not seeking asylum here. They're seeking to victimize here. And there's nothing wrong with the plan. Many Americans agree with that plan. So for the good bishop to go against that, he is so out of line. It's so out of order. We got to pray for him.
Yeah, completely. It's time to pray because he's trying to make all this kind of connections, right? So, I mean, it's just it just feels like they're using these things as props, and that's another thing because if you want to do something about it, I don't know if this is the way to do it. I think maybe talking and to actually have adequate reform in immigration would actually do more than this grandstanding that he's doing. Because it's grandstanding. You're not talking to the people on the border. You're not going over there in the border. I feel like the bishop should maybe step up. If he's going to do something, help do something, not just pontificate.
That's a really good point, Fletcher. You're right, because what we are about, especially as Catholic Christians, is the doing. It's not that we believe we're saved by any actions, because we're not. We know that people sometimes mischaracterize the Catholic theology that way. We don't believe that. We're only saved by grace, but grace without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. So we always feel you should get out and do something. So good bishops, I'm talking about, Trump, and we're going to go out and feed them, help them, teach them the right way, and send them back home. Because you know what? It's not a blessing to countries, like you just pointed out, to maybe for the elites, but for the average person, when they have somebody who's decent who leaves the country, how is that a blessing to them? It's not.
It's just crazy.
It used to be called brain drain. Like you have your very best people leaving your country when they can stay and fight to make it better, to fight the corruption, to fight the inequities, to do the best. But instead, they just leave and go somewhere else. That's not helping.
No, it isn't. But we thank everybody for joining us today. We went on a marathon before we lose all our voice. We want to thank everybody. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and do all that fun stuff. And join us for next week. And
please watch out for us. We're going to probably do some individual videos that are going to be more targeted to a particular theme.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We'll be sharing up that if you, we posted also some stuff like if you guys will be posting some prayers, how to do some prayers. The first one that we posted was how to do our Hail Mary in Latin, which is great. Everybody should learn some Latin prayers because Exorcist says that they're very powerful. So we'll be sharing like some Latin prayers, but also some prayers. And we'll also be, kind of Catholic explaining a few things and helping out. If you see our 12 Days of Christmas as we just ended the Christmas season, although Merry Christmas to our Ethiopian brothers and sisters and
our regular Catholic Christians and others to celebrate, because the baptism of the Lord is this Sunday, still Christmas.
We want to check out. We're gonna be doing something on beauty pretty soon, which I think is gonna be great. So yeah, check that out. Check our stuff, and thank you so much. We'll see you
so much, everyone.
Later. Thank you.
Yeah. Sayonara.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de Deus.